All right, guys, we're live. FMX Legends podcast back today. We got Mike Mason, style master of FMX, retired for a couple years already. What is it, like 4 or 5 years, Mike?
I think we're going on six. It was 2019. I mean, I graduated from Douglas High, so my math's not good, but yeah, I think it's been 6 years since I've actually even pretty much touched a motorcycle. And it's crazy how fast it goes. 'Cause I remember just riding my last show with you, but it's already been like almost a decade, so pretty crazy.
Dude, that is wild, man, because I remember that last show too. And coming, like all weekend, you were saying this is your last weekend and you're quitting, but you had also been saying that for like 8 years
Yeah,
straight.
yeah. I think I heard that every time I rode with you, Mike. No, this is
Yeah,
the
well,
last time. This is the last time.
well, boys, I knew where I fit in the sport. I was doing the same trick since '06, and it was like 2015 into 16, 17. I'm like, dude, at some point, people got to stop hiring me. And I was wrong. I made another more years,
You
and
Yeah,
yeah,
you were wrong because it's 2025 and I'm still doing the same tricks as 2006. And for some, hey, what you got there, dude?
as you were, carry on.
Oh man, looks like a good one, huh?
Tasty.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, you're still doing the same tricks, but you're a lot more advanced to where like people actually like watching them. Like what Nate Adams did heel clicker flips in like '04, and I was in 2018 still doing them. So there,
Oh three, oh
hey,
three, Mike.
yeah, whatever, man. My math, like I said, so,
Well, that's actually one of the reasons that I thought you'd be an interesting guest to have there. That sounded bad because I'm absolutely not trying to talk smack on you. But one of the reasons is that there's you've had like an interesting career in the fact that you've definitely had like moments where you've just completely crushed, like speed and style, for instance, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But I think it's interesting looking at your career, and it seemed to me like for a majority of it, you rode well within your comfort zone, and you never really, it seemed like, pushed like too far out of that. You know what I mean? Like you rode safe for most of your career. You had minimal crashes, minimal injuries, um, and despite all that, like you retired from FMX well. Like I don't know how much you want to talk about your. I'm obviously not asking you to show us a bank balance or anything, but
thank
like I don't, I don't know. I don't know how much you would want to talk about that, but I find it interesting, right? Because you think in freestyle motocross, like we've got to be the gnarliest people in the world to make money.
you.
And like I said, I feel like you rode at your own pace. You did this all to the beat of your own drum, and you retired like incredibly well, especially compared to most freestyle motocross riders. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about.
Yeah, so it was weird. Like, when flipping first came out, it was super fun to me. Like, you and me rode every day at Miller's, and like flipping was easy to me. Like, just learning the flip after a while. But I rode within my comfort zone. Like, everyone like mistook it for like being lazy and like didn't care. But like the fact of the matter is I was not a good flipper for some reason. Like, both of you guys could like learn everything that you do right side up, upside down, and it was almost like that, like tap your head and rub your belly type of thing. It never really resonated with me, like trying to get my flip right. Like when I tried a Superman flip, granted I did a regular Superman, but when you guys started going to like KODs and stuff, it was like I was trying to like jump off like off the ramp. So I was always flipping like three-quarters of the way around, and it was like I never comprehended flipping, honestly, and it was weird. Like I said, not the actual flip itself, but all the stuff that you guys do upside down. And after so many years of, I mean, how long did I try Cordova flips for? Like, granted, I didn't know how to
At
do a Cordova.
least at least once a practice session for 12 years straight.
Well, I should have done one at this point, but no, it was a weird deal, and I think that's where my comfort zone came into play. Is like I just, even if I learned stuff at Miller's house, sometimes you go to like an X Fighters or even X Games, it's a different ramp, and like the ones that want to kind of like pop us like into endos, and it's like I felt like I was pulling as hard as I could and not coming around, and so yeah, after years of trying with you and Levi when he'd come out to Vegas trying a bunch, it was like, dude, it just wasn't for me. Like I couldn't figure it out, and I finally kind of just was like, I know my spot. Like well, I've done a lot of like PR stuff to kind of find my niche in the sport, right? Like I know I'm not going to go out there at Nitro Circus best trick and be the last guy to jump the biggest trick, whatever. And so when they needed guys to fly in a month early and do 4 a.m. to noon, radio news, all that, I didn't mind that because I was older. I kind of knew that was like my contribution to the tour to stay on it. And that's kind of where I was with it. And, like I had a couple good years. Like I think '09, I actually like kind of broke through a little bit and learned like, some little Shaolins and seat grab flips and stuff like that. But it was never going to take me to the top of the sport. Like I didn't want to keep doing seat grab or, learn double grab flips and get 6th, 7th place. It's like, I kind of knew if I don't have a chance at like 1st, 2nd, 3rd, I don't want to ride out of my comfort zone just to get that 6th, 7th, 8th place. You know what I mean?
It's funny, and sorry, Levi, I'll give you a second as well, but this was actually something I wanted to talk about. It's funny because I was specifically going to bring up '09 X Games because I remember going into that and like, dude, all of a sudden you had figured out like 5 or 6 new flip combos, and just in typical Mike Mason fashion, like they all had excellent style on them. And you went there and like you threw down this run that was just completely insane for the day. And what place did you end up there?
I think there was like 8 dudes in the final, and I think I got 7th.
Sick.
Yeah.
Sick.
But that was the year too. You got to remember that they did like the 3 runs, like all like kind of back to back, I think. Remember, like we had 3 runs like in a row in the finals basically. And each run was different. And it was like, I feel like I messed like in the run where I did the good seat grab flip over the 120. I didn't like holy grab the 120 as well. Like for some reason, just took that out of it. Don't know why, And it's like I feel like I kind of mixed up my runs a little bit in my head because you did have to plan 3 different runs within how long was the show? 45 minutes for all of us. So I wasn't totally bummed out with how I finished, but it was kind of weird. Like you watch some of the other guys ride, and you're like, well, I felt like I was at least kind of with them, and I think I only beat Potter maybe, and that's because he messed up. I think all 3 runs, And
Yeah.
and then I remember going to London X Fighters like a couple weeks later and kind of like seat grab flipping into the double double and no hand flipping out of it. And I had to go to like the LCQ and the day qualifier thing and like barely made it. And then I don't know what I ended up there. And I was just like, man, it's just like gets deflating after a while. It's like I felt like I actually did for once come in kind of prepared. But, at the same time, I mean, you guys, 90% of your runs gnarly. I'm thinking I learned a seat grab flip, which both of you guys are already doing massive, and it's like in my head I'm thinking it's something. Yeah, right. But I gave it a good effort. I was stoked with, I think right about '09 as far as freestyle, like, that was my one last ditch effort to kind of do it. Remember 10 I crashed a bunch like trying seat grab flips, like
was that the year on Rusty that you missed a
yeah, I crashed on nukes, like I over rotated a seat grab Indy flip in the trains and crashed, and then did that seat grab flip on Krusty and missed the grab completely and just freaking destroyed myself. So, but it's funny how timing works out, right? It's like all that happened in 10, and I'm like, dude, I don't know where I'm going with this anymore. It's like, am I just going to go ride, state fairs, like wherever, and then Speed and Style starts coming out. So it was kind of like it bought me another 4 years, and it was cool. I got to get my first gold medal. Like that's all I kind of ever wanted, and I don't care what discipline it's in. It was just cool to get one. And so Speed and Style kind of, reinvigorated my motivation as far as riding. Like I was out motoing all the time and training and just riding a bunch and enjoying riding. And then once that kind of went away, it went into like Nitro tours for a while and like the Cal State Fair. And that's just kind of when I just felt like I wasn't concentrating no more. And I retired more, this is going to sound weird, but like off of boredom, like my last 2 years, I could sit out all winter, not practice at all. And then like the week before a tour, I'd come out and ride with you for like 20 minutes a day, and then I was going to the tour feeling unprepared. I don't want to do stupid, hurt my friends if I'm at the front of the train and crash, So I just kind of like
mentioned that in my experience, like riding when you're not. I get it. I get the boredom of like keeping up and like really feeling sharp. Like at some point you're like, man, I just don't feel like going out there and like putting in the reps anymore. And then, okay, so you don't, and then you go on tour, but you still have to show up and be ready to do tricks on command, and you're a little rusty, and it like for me that takes away from all the joy in the riding part of it. Like being scared overwhelms everything that could be fun about tour.
Yeah, I just remember those last couple of years. Like I remember the very last tour we did, I think we were in like Chicago or something for the last American stop, and it was like windy all day in practice, and I just gotten I don't even know why I switched to the Honda. I guess I had a couple more years. I should have just kept my Suzukis that I was comfortable on, but I just remember being like wind, like kind of a side wind, and I always had to holy grab in the show, dude. And I'm like, I'm starting to stress, and I'm like, dude, the holy grab never stressed me out ever. And now it's like even a right side up trick, and I'm like, dude, it's time. I kind of like back to my retirement thing. I got my overhead way down to where I'm like, I can make a monthly income off of a portfolio. And if I have to get a job, it's something just fun. Like I've worked at a golf course, like pulling golf carts out and working the driving range just for beer and food money, because I don't have $5,000 a month in bills no more. So
beer and food money. That's it.
Yeah,
Nice.
dude, look at the size of the body now. That's a lot of money. So, but yeah, it was weird. It all hit me that year, that last Nitro tour we did. And, like I said, I knew financially I was in a good enough spot to where I could just go work something that I liked. I didn't have to go get a 9 to 5. And, I got out of my career healthy for the most part. I mean, a couple little injuries here and there. And I just felt like I was pushing it. I'm like, I don't want to get to the point where an injury or something bad takes me out of it. I'd rather leave on my own terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave
Nice.
us. Go for it.
No, man, I'm just happy listening. I mean, I haven't caught up with Mike in a really long time, so I'll just sit back, having my coffee and listen. Couple things that come to mind. I mean, this is a little bit unrelated, but when we're talking about X Games 2009 for you, and you went out and you done a banger run, and then you kind of got the same position. It kind of brings me back to the time. This is unrelated but related. I'm sure you probably experienced it with like competitions, and I was fortunate enough that I was kind of in the other side of this quite often. But do you ever notice that there was like just the popular group of dudes in the comp that will always get like that first, second, third, fourth, and then there's just always the like, you know what I mean? Like I spent my time in a couple different runs of them, but like I feel like sometimes I could go out there and have a real average run and still get like a podium, or like times when I wasn't doing the popular tricks, I'd go so hard and I'd get fifth, and I'm like, fuck, what's it worth? It just reminded me, and I think that was probably what happened right there,
Yeah, it was, and I'm not like trying to have a poor me party. It's like everybody rode good that year. Like Twitch, C-Crap flipping the 110. Bilko had just started doing the 360 Indian airs. It was like that year kind of felt like I finally caught up to like all you guys and all those guys, and then they like went up another level, So, but I was trying to more or less use my run. Like I knew my tricks weren't like trend-setting brand new tricks, but I was trying to use, like I remember Shaolin flipping like the 90-foot dirt jump or something, like just trying to like switch my run to make harder tricks. Like I had just learned C-Crap flips like a month before, and I went like my goal was to C-Crap flip the 120, and I was scared because I flipped the 20. I'm still like trying to make sure I've got my grab, on a 120-foot jump, and so I was proud of myself that way. And I wouldn't necessarily say I threw in the towel. I just think everyone kind of stepped up as well. Where I thought in my head maybe if I had dissect, because that course was one of my favorite courses that I ever rode at X Games. Like it had the little like mini ramp into the bowl jump, like dirt jump, and the 120, some good like steep dirt jumps, and I remember having a blast. So I was like enjoying trying to map my run out around it. And then when I got like seventh, I'm like, is it going unnoticed, or it? Because in my head, like right when you're done with the run, you're like, okay, dude, I killed it, and these judges suck. And then you'll go back and watch it on TV or something. I'm like, wow, dude, like I barely got like through the bars on a Shaolin flip. Like a lot of your stuff wasn't how it felt in your head. So I dissected. Yeah. I was happy with it, and trust me, dude, I am used to being 5th through 8th. Like you both know, like if I ever got a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd, I think both of you guys probably crashed and Nate Adams' bike broke or something. It wasn't like I just went out and like was the best rider that night. So
I think I got a lot of 8ths in my career, dude, and fucking just blowing a lot of runs. I actually remember you always being like, dude, just settle down and ride the course. Yeah. Right? Because it would be like a tight double-double when I was trying to like turntable no-handed can into it or something, and you're like, dude, ride the course. Like, you don't need to do that. And I don't think I ever listened to you, and like the amount of runs that I bombed by probably like, I don't know, at some points I guess you got to shoot high, but like just by going like, oh yeah, I got to do my 2 gnarliest tricks on those jumps no matter what the placement is. I should have just rode the course for what it was. I don't feel like I ever did.
Dude, you had to feel so dumb when I'm heel clicker, no hand and flipping a tight double-double, and you're trying to do like your hardest tricks through it, messing it up, and I get 3rd and you get like 7th. I'm on the podium, a little mini trophy, and you're back there throwing your helmet and shit. God, this is easy.
Yeah, I've thrown a couple helmets. Levi, did you just say the popular tricks or the popular guys when you were talking about being at contests?
Both. Like,
both.
you like a you know, like you've got the top guys in that year or whatever that generally up the top, but then like there's always the latest popular trick and like whatever it is. And for me, it was like flares. Like I freaking hated those quarter pipes, those fly out wet tramps, you know. And so I didn't do them. I just refused to. And then you do everything else as good as you can, and you just get like smoked. And then
It was weird.
you finally do it, and then you're back in there, and you're like, that was such a dumb trick anyway. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that was just kind of my experience with it. But
There was a really weird thing about like how you had to do the new trick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there was something about freestyle motocross judging that like didn't allow for like actual diversity. It was like,
Yep.
well, here's the new thing. So if you want to do well, you have to have it in your run, which I always thought was silly. But also going back to like Mike's score in '09, and I know you said that like everybody else stepped it up as well. But I think also there's like this, there's like the judges just know who's on top for the year, you know, and it's really hard no matter what happens to like change their mind of that. So like if you haven't been the guy who's already podiuming all year and you have a breakthrough run, it's like it was always in their head that it's like, no, these are the guys that podiums, like
Yeah.
that get podiums. You don't get podiums, they get and
Yeah.
like you would have to go so far above and beyond to like break into that space that the judges decided was theirs, which like kind of sucked too. I don't know.
Yeah, I go on with that too. Is like I feel like, and I don't know, maybe I'm biased because it's us three, but I feel like the judges held us to a very, very absurdly high standard. Because I remember Rome X Fighters, like one of the last X Fighters I rode. I think it was 2010. And this is when Sheeny is like cue ball Sheeny, like his bike's all stock, like he's just breaking into the sport, right?
He should have just been one of the baggies. He was so fresh into the free
Right. And he was still a great dude, but like brand new. And I remember that like there was a double or something I can't remember, and it was saying seat grab flipped into it, no hand flipped out of it, and dude, I didn't even make the night show. Like I got like second to last in like the night qualifier before the program started. And Sheeny messed up jumping into the double and kind of did like, can't remember what he did, but I remember watching him like, because I think he got the last spot into the night show. And I'm like, damn, dude, maybe I'll make it. And then he beats me. And I'm like, what the hell? And I was talking to Drake later, and Drake's all, well, you know, your seat grab flip, like your feet were a little off. And then your no-handed flip, you just kind of looked like rushed. And your holy grab kind of like over the big jump, you know, like you kind of look tentative. And I'm like, Jesus, dude, like he's picking apart like my arms and my feet. Not the fact that I did a whole run. I feel like dudes got held to a higher standard where, like, you know, Nate could, like, because Nate's going to be the dude for a long time, right? And Nate could kind of fully blow a run, but he's going to qualify in that, third place with, like, one of his worst runs. And, like, I could sit there and critique, like, his run and be like, you know, I saw this and this. But it's like I felt like they only held kind of, like, us to that standard, you know? And it's like, dude, I'm not perfect here. I'm trying my best, you know? So it was a weird time.
He hated us. I swear he hated this dude.
Yeah, I know he did for a fact because he like literally, dude. If like my toenail was pointed down on something, that was on that jump. You're out. I'm like, damn, that's tough crowd over here.
That's funny.
Yeah,
it's bringing back some PTSD. Oh man.
Dude,
good times.
I was gonna say about that when you were talking about. Oh, how many times did both of you guys hear? You make it look too easy.
Mm-hmm.
All the time.
Yeah. It's like I thought that's what we were supposed to practice for.
That's it. Yeah, like if you weren't like if you go and do your biggest trick and you land it, like just grease it, and then you're not like landing and sitting down, your hands blowing off or something, then it's like, oh, it can't be that hard. You know, I remember that now. Yeah, this all come back to me. It's been a while.
Yeah, and that's like all I pride in myself. Like sometimes, like if I learned, like let's say I learned a cliffhanger backflip, but it's not good. I'm not straight up and down. It's like I would take it out of my run and do something that was fully extended where I know I'm going to do the trick. But then it's like you almost get penalized. It's like I should have just done the damn weak-ass cliffhanger and saw what happened, you know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you know, all three of us have had to go both ways, right? Like there's contests, like Levi said, that I've won, and I'm like, what in the heck? How did I do that? Like I'm even just talking like an IFMA or, you know, something. So it goes both ways, but I think it is just a little, it defeats you a little bit when you come very prepared. And like I said, that 09X Games course, like it fit my eye. Like every jump on it I loved, and I felt very smooth. I hit all my marks, I hit all my tricks, and it's like I came in, dude, and I was like a good like 7 or 8 points behind like Bilko and Nate and Twitch. I'm like, Jesus, like that. Not like I was close, like, you know, if I was a couple points off where I could maybe be like, okay. And they docked me for the stupid little mini ramp into the next ramp. I just like double canned it and then just I remember it was perfect. I Shaolin flipped the next one. And I remember the judges are like, well, like Twitch heel clicker flipped in and then did like an indie flip out. And I'm like, this jump right here cost me like 3 points, like not flipping this 3 foot ramp. I'm like, all right, dude, I got it.
Yeah. Another thing to your point of like saying everybody stepped up, I'm sure they did, but like Twitch got third that year, and like Twitch, he wouldn't. You're being very nice. Twitch didn't have anything on you that year for him to get third and for you to get seventh. Like I agree that you guys should have been probably running in like, you know, the general same area. That was another thing I hated about judging though. Like you did a no-footed can in. Yeah, dude, I remember you did a full fucking backward switchblade off a 45-foot jump. That was like, how the hell did he do that? You know, like it was like that should. I always think that should matter. Like you have a certain style and you're good at a certain kind of trick, and like switchblades is one of those tricks that like, okay, we could look at it and go, oh, it's a switchblade, it's gay, you can't do it. Or we can go, certain guys can take a switchblade and make it look really sweet, and you're one of those guys. So like that's like a signature of your own style, and all they want to do is just dock it based on the name when they do it. And I feel like stuff like that really took the individual like personality out of freestyle, because then when's the next time you did a switchblade and you run after that? Probably never again, right?
I don't even know if I rode X Games ever again after that, besides beating stuff. But yeah, you know, you're exactly right, and you know, it was very flip biased back in the day, and that's where I actually, and I'm not just saying this because we're talking right now, but like both of you guys had like amazing right side up, like you had the perfect combo in my eyes, right? Like the stylish right side up tricks and the gnarly flip tricks, and I thought that was awesome because I was a fan of the sport up until a couple years ago when it just turned so that everyone's doing this trick, you know, like I've been watching a little bit of the Freestyle King stuff, and there's some dudes on there that are actually like look cool when they're riding again. And I'm like, that's sick, you know. That's what I like. I love like watching with riding. I don't care to watch guys half-ass a backflip Indian air just to like do it for the judges because it's a harder trick. You know? I wish there would have been a way some way back in the day where we could have structured judging where there is something to like watching a guy's flow around a course and his tricks is right, you know, like, and obviously coming from a dude that wasn't good at flipping, I look at that a little more, but I just noticed every year at X Games, it's like, if someone learned a lazy boy flip at X Games, it's like everyone went in and they were just like still leaning forward but taking their hands off, and they were getting points for it. They weren't even doing the damn lazy boy, you know. And to me, I'd rather see like a huge holy grab or, you know, a huge one-handed heart or something rather than a dude sitting on his gas cap with his hands up. You know, it's like they forced it like that though. I'm not faulting the riders at all. They kind of, you knew what you had. Like at X Fighters, they really banked on like use of course and new stuff that was coming out. They didn't really necessarily like benefit the riders that, you know, flowed around the course, looked cool, like did cool both way tricks. I mean, Levi benefited really good, but he earned it. Like his regular KODs were like were one of the best that like we ever saw in our sport. You know what I mean? And so that was cool that you got rewarded with that. And Adam, you've had your fair share of, you know, good fortune as well. I think we've gotten rewarded. I just think overall it kind of got muddled down a little bit with just, you know, everyone trying like coming out and just winging stuff that necessarily didn't. Because picture being a fan and you're like, sometimes guys did a flip trick so fast you couldn't even see it because they're not confident with it. And like as a fan, you're like, the hell was that? Yeah. Rather than a dude hanging KOD, holy grabber, big KOD flip, big cliffhanger flip. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have you guys seen that Jose Mincha kid?
No. Does he golf?
No, he's a new Red Bull rider. They just gave him a Red Bull helmet. I think he's out of Spain. Young kid, good kid. He's got some wild tricks. Like he's doing like Cordova front flips off the mechanical ramp. Like I think he's doing lazy boy front flips, cliffhanger front flips. He does them all in back flips too. He does all these wild stuff, which like I think it's really cool for shows. Like if you go to a show and they put 2 or 3 of those in, like I think it's cool, right? It's great. It's a great ender. Like here's the newest, latest thing when you go do a show. I actually saw, I think he did one of those Night of the Jump shows a month or so ago, and I'm talking about this because you were just saying about how you were a fan of freestyle up until recently. I watched his run, dude, and it was like flip cliffhanger, uh, front flip KOD, back flip lazy boy, front flip Cordova, back flip heart attack, front flip no hander. And I was watching it and I was just like, no disrespect, I'm sorry, but I hate this run. Like,
Yeah.
dude, this does nothing for me. Like,
Yeah.
it's too much, and it lacks like what you were just talking about. In my opinion, I like the big tricks. I think they're cool, but like, man, like this shit is supposed to have some style and some like, a little bit of like different pizzazz other than like just throw 16 video game tricks in a row. Like, I don't know, dude. Like I watched it and I was like, is this what freestyle contest is right now? Because like I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to watch this.
Yeah. And it's so hard to talk shit because it's gnarly, right?
Gnarly, yeah.
It's like it's hard to say something you don't want to come off offensive because we full well as three riders right here, we full well understand like how gnarly the run is. But it's like that's not why I got into free. I got into freestyle watching Metzger do no footed cans and Hart doing the first heart attack, like stuff that looked cool, you know. And like
fun, eh?
when it got like when it got into flipping, like remember on Krusty Tour that first year when Bilko and Shuey each weekend were just more and more massive KOD. Like that was cool because you can visualize as a fan and a spectator like what that is. Like that's gnarly. Your bike's upside down and they're full doing a handstand, and then their bike's like under rotating back with them. Like that's gnarly. But it's like you start getting into like all these like weird little flip combos and really rush stuff, and it's like yeah, as a rider we can appreciate the technicality of it, but it's just taken away from the entertainment value of it. And I think that's why, like going back to the Freestyle Kings, that's kind of why it's intrigued me again a little bit, because there is the big, like Adelberg's doing some new front flip stuff and this and that, but I mean, they're still doing like some massive regular tricks. They brought back Pyro, which who would have thought like Pyro actually makes the show pretty cool, you know? And it's like, it's going back a little bit to make a show out of it. I think that's why they're getting a draw again. Like, I don't know the exact numbers, but the crowds have looked, pretty comparable to like 10, 15 years ago. And, so I just kind of wish we could get back into, making enjoy. Like I started really enjoying watching Axel and Tyler just because of their style flowing through a section or their whips or something. It was just something fresh and different from the everyday backflips, front flips. You know what I mean? Like that, if that makes any sense. But it definitely got a little stale there. Like kind of right around the end of when I started riding, or stopped riding. There was just like. And I don't know if I was just like burnt out because I've watched the same thing for the last 5 or 6 years. I don't know, but it just felt like there was no energy to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
definitely it lost its flavor,
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's all natural. Like it's going to go that way so hard until it doesn't, and then it's going to come back. And I feel like we're going back there a little bit. Like, man, I only really just started riding recently again, and I spend most of my time in a session upright and just doing normal old tricks, and it's so much fun. And I enjoy watching everyone else do stuff like that, and it's primo, It's I don't know, it's quite cool. But yeah.
And that's a tough one too, because our era was like probably one of the more gnarly eras, right? Like it went from, you were doing a straight heart attack to like in 2 years it felt like everyone was doing seat grab, backflip, seat grab heart attacks.
Yeah.
To double back in like a span of like this window. So we got
like gnarly
and then
jumps.
So it's hard. I try and like when I talk about, because I don't want to be that, I don't want to be Mad Mike Jones and be like, well, back in my day, dude, we were the sickest. I try not to do that, but the stuff we saw and how fast it happened, like we watched Levi ride Krusty Tour on a damn 80 with Jack, and then like 2 years later they're like dominating like every flip trick and the sport, so it's like everything progressed so fast for us, but like it has plateaued now, and I think that's. Like Freestyle Kings is doing a very good job of like making a show of it again. Like not, like Nitro kind of like was running itself down a little bit. Like it was the same show plan for 10 years, and when you get confused why people aren't coming, it's like, dude, they want to see something different. And like, I never had the answer to it. I'm not a promoter, I don't know. But then it's like you watch Freestyle Kings and it's the same stuff, but they're adding just more of that like extreme element to it. Like when Krusty came out, there's pyro, there's, light shows, like all this stuff. It's not just a bunch of us like, okay, here's the Nitro Circus crew. all right, here's right side up tricks, and we all just do jumps. There was no like build up to it or hype or solo session. Like I loved how like Krusty broke down solo sessions for riders. Like like Nitro will have Travis there, but they put him third in the train or something, and Travis is just a rider in the show at some point. It's like, why not profile these guys and highlight their tricks and interview them and let the crowd get to know them? Like that's where I think we kind of went wrong, and I think like between the tricks escalating too quick and then just losing our show value, kind of like I think that's where we saw the decline for a bit.
But it's funny because you hear Freestyle Kings and people kind of, I don't know if you've heard this or not, Levi, but they kind of are like, it's like an old Krusty show is like what I've heard a couple times.
Yeah. That's what I thought when I went and watched the first one. I was like, man, this is cool. It was just cool. It was just fun, man. I wanted to go and ride ramps after watching the show, and that was like a weird feeling for me at that stage, So it was primo. Do you still have a bike, Mike?
No bikes.
You don't have a bike?
I kept 3 of my contest bikes, but no oil, no gas. The tires are rotted. Everything's out. Yeah. So those things are DNF.
Bike, no nothing.
No, the last free bike I rode, I converted over to moto and rode like 2 times, and I'm like, dude, this. In my head, like legit, I was gonna take 6 months off. I just wanted to like be at home for a bit, like because like the 3 of us have sacrificed a lot. Like I've been talking to like some friends from home that never rode, right? I'm like, dude, we've missed Thanksgivings. Like my cousin got married and had a kid while I was on the road, never even knew. Like you lose contact with family and friends because we were riding 40, 45 weeks a year, and I knew I sucked at riding, so I rode every single show I had to ride to keep going with money, So it's like I wanted to take 6 months off, spend time with my family, spend time with my friends. I started getting into golf just to go do something with my dad because he was getting older. And then like 6 months went by, and like I'm like, dude, I still don't have 1 ounce of an itch to ride. Like I never had the like itch to ride ramps ever again. I don't know what happened there, but I was like, I still need a moto and just kind of exercise. And dude, like the longer it went, the less I want to ride. Sold my bike, and I'm like, down the road, if I can buy another bike and go out and moto if I want. And never got into it. And then like the whole thing with what happened to biking last year, I'm like, dude, I'm 44 years old this year. It's like I'm out of shape. I still have an ego. I guarantee you, if I went to a track and like a kid on a 65 passed me, it would piss me off, and I would try and pass some high side, eat shit, bro. Most likely. So it's like I've like come to terms with it. I'm happy, so stoked. Like I never thought I would ride for 33 years. Never thought I would travel the country. Never thought I'd meet guys like you and have the time of my life, make money. Never thought any of that. So it's like I actually came to like really good terms with it, where I'm like, I'm fine with what I did. Like I'm totally happy with it. Like there's no regret. Like even when I see like a Freestyle Kings, how like you guys said, it makes you kind of want to ride. It's like it makes me think of the times we had, like the fun times we had. But it's not something that I'm like, damn, I kind of wish I could like build a bike and get on that tour again. It's weird. It's the hardest thing to explain because I loved dirt bikes for 30 years probably, and then in 3 years just like was okay with not riding anymore. So I don't know. It's a weird dynamic. Sure.
It's you just sound satisfied. That's all it is, really. Like you done what you done and you moved on. It's pretty damn cool. Not many people can do that,
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. Yeah, I was actually going to say the exact same thing, that it's like contentment, which is great, right? Like a lot of people have the look back of like, could I have done more? Could I have done it better? Could I have done it longer? Should I have? And like, I think those are all negative feelings that like, we shouldn't have. And I think the way you did it, which is like hanging it up and I'm moving on, was good. And I think part of that is probably because you were smart with your finances, and you worked hard at like building up a good base throughout your career, and you probably felt, secure to be able to do that, which I think helps the whole thing. Like I think some of this doubt that people experience when they, maybe walk away, they're like, maybe they're not financially secure, or maybe they weren't good with their money and they burned a lot of it, and they like their look back in regret is always because of like, I could have made more and like saved myself more, and like you did the right things and you had the good career and are able to look back and just go, all right, good.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like that stuff still creeps in. There was times when I stopped riding where like you miss riding for 2 months and bringing home 15 grand for me, especially just kind of doing what I'm comfortable with. You know, like you said, not riding out of my comfort zone. It's like, damn, dude, I can go buy some guitars. I could buy some golf clubs, like whatever, you know. So like, there was times where I kind of missed that, but you know, like the last Nitro tour I rode, because I was pretty much minimum wage. I think front wiper Vicky Golden was even getting paid. She rode a quarter of the show, but it's like I had like 8 or 9 shows, and I think I came home with like 12 grand. And I'm like, just like being kind of numbers, dude. I'm like, man, if I would have broke a collarbone that first show, then I'm out 3 to 4 months, or you know, collarbone's the most mild, like wrist, ankles, and I'm out for 6 months. Then that 12 grand wasn't even worth it. Now I've got doctor bills that are more than that, you know. And I just started thinking that way. I'm like, I'm not really making enough. You know, like if Nitro would have kept having like that 2016 tour where we rode April to October and, you know, brought home a little over like 100 grand, let's say, it's like I probably would have been grinding it out a little more. But it's like when I'm starting to get down into like under 50 grand a year and I'm still risking, you know, whether it's like I said, wind and wet ramps or whatever it may be, like I'm not really afraid of my riding, but it just kind of started getting to the point where it's like my portfolio basically set me up to make like 50, 60 grand a year without riding. So it's like, why am I still going out and risking my neck and trying to get hurt with, you know, like not really being passionate about it and needing that money anymore in a sense, you know what I mean? So it went both ways. I struggled for a bit, just like when you would see a tour, and I'm like, damn, that would be an easy, you know, 20 grand if I just went and rode this tour one more time. But I'm like, no, dude, because that's what happens, and then that's the tour.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it's so, like I said, you do struggle with it a little bit, but at the end of the day, like I go to bed every night very excited that I've had the life I've had. You know, like when I meet new people, they're like, dude, you've lived like 3 people's lives already. And so like that part is where I'm very happy. And you're right, Adam, like I am comfortable. You know, like obviously if I was going to freaking roof a house right now, that'd be some bullshit. I'd probably keep riding. But I knew right from day one that I didn't really want to, like Sean Palmer is one of our good friends, right? And that dude made millions snowboarding and doesn't have a lot to show for it. And, you know, not being mean, he lived a lavish lifestyle with buses and Tahoe houses and stuff. So at a young age, watching him make a bunch of money and still be broke, I'm like, you know, I'm only making, like, I think in my best year I made 300, but I probably averaged like 200 grand a year, which is awesome. But we spend a lot on bikes, travel, you know, you're not always getting paid travel, hotels, everything. It's, you know, so your taxes, everything, you're coming home with like 120. So it wasn't like I was making a shitload. So I was like, I need to do something with this money, not just go buy cars, go buy the biggest house I can buy all the time. Like I did that right out of the gate in my career. I bought a big house, put a pool in it, bought a brand new truck, had a van, you know, bought a moto bike. I was buying everything that I could buy. Like whatever, like if I was making 20 grand a month, I wanted to push it to like 17 grand a month that I could spend. You know what I mean? And after 2 or 3 years of that, like my Carson house was about $5,000 a month. I'm like, dude, this isn't sustainable. Like when I'm done riding, how am I going to make 5 grand a month? You know? So I started downsizing, went to Vegas and that house was way cheaper, got it paid off, and then moved back into Johnson Lane. And, you know, you've seen the size of my house. It's 1,100 square feet. But, you know, I'm by myself. It's like, I don't need a lot. I'd rather go on vacations, golf trips, you know, beers and barbecues with the boys than have this huge house that I'm just sitting here by myself in and spending 5 grand a month on. So I just kind of started breaking it down. And Ronnie Feist was probably one of the best dudes to come into my life and career because his dad was a condo investor. And, you know, like he was a retired, Highway Patrol or something. But we always talked about condos and investments and started picking Feist's brain. He got me set up with his accountant. And then the accountant got me set up with a portfolio like 2011. And so every year I just started dumping any money I could into that.
2011, that's when you started it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I bought my first condo in 06 and my Vegas house, as far as my portfolio, it was about 2011. I was actually priced out.
Condo you got in 2006, that was like before you really started investing heavily. Wasn't that when Kinesic was selling real estate to all the boys?
Yeah. Yeah. Our so-called buddy Kinesic, like, you know, thank God I had him. He's got me into a condo and, you know, I paid it off pretty quick and it was rent. And I was making like, you know, even when I was riding, I was still just getting like $800 a month off it for doing nothing, which doesn't a lot, but that's pretty bitching when you're like this thing, because they had a management company and everything. So this thing I never heard about it, just got money, you know.
So you had a little taste of like investing pretty early into your career when you first started making money, and you were like, dang, like instead of burning my money, I could buy an asset which will then make me money.
Yeah.
And then after that, would you say for like the next 5 years that you didn't really do much investing until you started talking with Feist?
Well, yeah. So I bought because everyone said real estate. So I bought my condo, I bought my Carson house, and you know this just like I do. It's like everyone's like, dude, you can't lose in real estate. So I landscaped my Carson house. I
Same.
pretty much put all my money into the house. It wasn't like
Yep.
I was buying cars and stuff. And then sure, shit, '08 happens, and my house went from an $800,000 house to 300,000.
Same.
And yeah, so I was like, so then I was scared, and I'm probably the only regret I have in my career is I was young. I was probably 26 at the time, and just winging it, like talking to Feist and his dad about real estate. But I wasn't studying it. Like I didn't know the ins and outs of it. And I remember my condo, the one that Kinesic sold me, went down to like 30 grand. And at this time, I believe I had like 350 grand in my bank account, Wells Fargo, just sitting there, doing nothing.
I did the same thing, man.
Dude, and I remember my condo went down to 30 grand, and I looked on like an app, and there was like 10 condos for sale in there for 30 grand. So it's like I could have had 8 of those. Shit. I was young, and my house tanked so bad, my condo tanked. I'm like, dude, this is not. I don't want to do this. So I sat on my money for a while, and then I got to Vegas in '09 is when I because when I went to Vegas, I didn't have no one to hang out with really. It was just kind of me and Geeb and Dawes eventually. So I just sat there and like kind of hermited in a sense and put all my money away. Like once Nuke started, I put like almost all that money away. And once again, I was still at like 300 or 400 grand in Wells Fargo, and I went to Feist's little Asian dude. She's like a 4 foot tall Asian, 70 years old accountant. And I walk in, I was like bitching, show her my bank statements, and she's looking, dude, and it's like just under 400. She's like, this is not enough money. This is not sustainable. You will not make it more than like 3 years with this in your account. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, dude, trailer park. I've never even seen 1,000, let alone 400 of them, And she like, the light bulb went off in my head right there. I'm like, damn, because the Palmer thing, I'm like, he went through millions. This actually isn't a lot. And so she set me up. It was just Edward Jones at the time, as you know, and dude was cool. And like, so I think I ended up putting like 250 in, and after 6 years,
Ryan, you talking about Ryan? Was she the one that connected you with Ryan?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
And so because we started that SEP IRA, which it was tax free money, but it's our retirement account technically. But I could go tax free and do it like 40 grand a year. So instead of paying taxes with that 40 grand, I was just putting it into a retirement account. And dude, I think from like 2012 to like 2017, it doubled. I had like 450 in there. I'm like, dude, wow. Now it becomes like gambling. Now it's like a game to me. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, now I don't want to spend all my money. I want to like keep doing this, and bought another rental up in Reno, which was kind of still in the recession. So I paid like 50 grand for it, cash, which was sweet. And then bought my house up here off my parents because it was beat. Like the whole thing had to be rebuilt, but bought it for 130. So I just kind of like figured out this way to like maximize, because on Nukes I was making 100 grand a year. So I'm like, for 4 months, I'm like 4 months I'll have this place paid off. And then it just, I think in 22 I actually sold both my last rentals, and dude, I made 420 grand just to sit on these. Like I paid 170 total for both of them and cashed out 400 plus the $1,700 a month I was making on them for 10, 15 years, So like I said, it became a game. Now I'm like, I want to see like how much I can do. Smoke alarm?
Phone's beeping. No, that was my phone. Sorry.
Time's up on top.
I think it's interesting how what you focus on really kind of it has such an effect on your life, and the fact that you started focusing on money in a positive way, like had this snowball effect that drops all these other opportunities and things into your lap. Like people can sit here and they could be like, oh, well, Mike just invested at the right time, and Mike just did this, and like Mike got lucky because he had this, and it's like, well, you specifically just said you were on an average of about 200,000 a year, which would be the equivalent of like a net of 120. So a person that goes and works a day job, they got to make $120,000 a year to make the same amount that you were riding freestyle. And so it's not like you had this gigantic like fountain of money that you could invest from, but you were just like smart and you were focused on that. You started, like you said, it was not gamble. I think gambling's the wrong way to explain it, but you were very thoughtful in the process of making money from your money. And I think it's funny, and I think it's true that that opens more opportunities in your life. Like those things that you focus on in a positive way or in a negative way, if that's how you want to focus, are gonna kind of like draw themselves to you somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, it was weird. Cause like I said, I flew by the seat of my pants. It wasn't like I sat down every day and had like this strategy mapped out of I'm doing this, doing that. I kind of had the gift of, yeah, like I would talk to everyone. Like I had a lady up here that did my real estate for me. And she's like, one night we sat down and had dinner and she broke down how stuff works. And she's like, well, the thing is if you get like 3 or 4 keys, and then you get equity in one, you could sell it, pay off a couple or buy more and this and that. And that's what I did with my Vegas house. Cause I think I owed like 70 grand on the one still. Cause I didn't pay that one off right away. So it's like, now I have a 40 in equity in my Vegas house. So I sold that, paid that off, put more in my portfolio and just kind of, I just always wanted to make sure like, cause in my mind, this is my one shot to do something with, like someone gave me a chance with freestyle to at least make some above average money. Like I said, we're not rich, but I was like just trying to like play the game and think of it. And like I said, I knew I didn't want to have to 9 to 5 it every day. And it did just become like a game to me. Like, how can I do this? And I was very aggressive. Like I remember the girl calling me about the property in Reno that was for 50 grand. And it was kind of a shithole. I never saw it. She's like, dude, it's 50. It's a good deal. It's 3 bedrooms. It'll rent for $1,600 a month. It's right by UNR. Dude, and I wired her money like the next day from Feist's house. Like I didn't go walk through it. I didn't ask about taxes, HOA, like I was very like impulsive with that, but I knew in the Reno area, a $50,000 property is not going to stay at $50,000 for long, So I was very like impulsive in that way, but never to where I would have been broke. Like I wasn't buying, $300,000 single family homes and making $1,200 in rent, but then the roof blows off it and then I'm 10 grand in the hole. It's like I had a thought process, but like I said, it wasn't a very well mapped out one. And I'm actually kind of surprised, like I got to this step. It kind of trips me out a little bit.
Well, it's another thing too, is like you said about the gift to gab, and like you made connections that you trusted as well, who brought opportunities to where like you trusted these people enough that you didn't really have to like dive in like some stranger calling you and being like, Mike, I got a 2-unit for 50 grand. You want to buy it? And you're like, I better really do some homework. Like you had people in your corner you trust. The reason I'm saying all this is because like it's cool and it is reachable to like to have a good life and to retire well and to make money and to like make money doing something you love and save money and like live well, retire well, and have a life that is somewhat on your own terms. Like I think that is the fucking way to live, man. It's on your own terms. And I know we got to clock in at a show and you still got to answer to somebody to work sometimes, but like I feel like we had a lot of personal autonomy, and that's a good way to live. And then I think people look at it and they're like, dude, how could I make money in freestyle? That's not sustainable. And like what I'm saying is, fuck yeah, it is. It is. It's going to take a lot of work, and you're going to have to do more than just go out to the riding spot and do tricks every day. Like it's a full circle of things. Like I just think it's a cool story to hear that you did it, and that you did it without, having to win every single X Games for 20 years in a row, and you did it without having to do a lot of things that people would think are required to retire successfully from freestyle motocross.
Well, and there's 2 points to that. The one point is everyone takes the word retirement like I have 10 mil in the bank and I'm just living this lavish lifestyle, right? I'm still very by the book. Like I said, I've got like $800 a month in my overhead bills, house, mortgage, insurances, all that. So I went to the bottom because I'm not a look at me kind of guy. I don't need a Benz in my driveway. I don't need a mansion. I don't need jewelry. It's like I just want to hang out with my friends and enjoy my life.
You need a Traeger and you need a golf pass.
Not bad. And I'm getting free golf now. I convinced the dudes, I don't even pay for the golf, but
that's pretty cool.
No, but like so many people that are like, yeah, like I got offered, $3 million for my business, but dude, I can't live like that's not sustainable for me. And I'm like, dude, if you gave me $3 million right now, like it's sustainable. You know what I mean? Like take $1 million of it and go blow it if you want. You invest $2 million, just the interest alone is if you live within your means. But like you see it, a lot of dudes in freestyle, like, and like I said, I was guilty of it in year 1 through 5 because I came from a trailer park as a kid, so being able to go buy something cool was bitching. But you see kids, they get a $5,000 check and they buy $5,000 worth of shit. You know what I mean? Like I got over that. Like, for one, when I bought my big house in Carson, we were on the road for 40 weeks a year. I did it backwards. I should have had this house when I was riding because I was never home, and then had like a nice house with a pool and stuff to retire in. You know what I mean? But so it was like you're not home if you're working hard. Like that stuff doesn't matter. Like you can go buy a new truck, and after a month, how fun is it? It's just a truck again. It's just your means of transportation. So I got like I said, I don't live off 10 grand a month, 5 grand a month. I live off 3, 4, 5 grand a month every once in a while and just chill. But my bills are so low. It's like I have 2 to 3 grand a month to go be a dickhead with. You know what I mean? And then to the second part of that is I got so much shit when I quit riding, started golfing, and started hanging out with everyone. And, like it was weird because everyone's like, everyone on it. Dude, I lost not that I have a huge following, but I lost 10,000 people on Instagram just from golf shit. Like you could just watch it. And the COVID stuff, I might have got a little aggressive. But that's but no, everyone's like, how can you go from freestyle to golf, dude? That's so fucking gay, like this and that. I'm like, dude, I just spent from 4 years old till 33 years old stressed out. Like, how many times have you guys been hurt? Like every time we get on that bike, we know something can happen. Whether you're totally in control, and because half my crashes, like the one crash in Vienna or wherever that one year, it was my 4th jump in Paxton. I did a double grab, and when I came back, my hand slipped off the handlebar, and I broke my collarbone and knocked myself out. It wasn't like I was doing something gnarly. It's like every time we got on our bikes, you can get hurt. Courses are stressful. The wind is stressful. Like everything, all these factors. So add that up over, for you guys, 20 years, for me, 30 years. It's like that's a pretty hectic life. A lot of stress, a lot of wear and tear on us. Like I said, a lot of being away from our families, a lot of like missing out on events. And it's like, dude, when I retired, like, hell yeah, I'm going to go golf with my dad and barbecue with my friends and family that I missed out on 25 years. It's like, I took it personal for 3 to 4 years when everyone would bitch at me like on Instagram. Now I'm like, I don't care, dude. Like, I did my, because even people are like, what's next? What are you going to do? You should start a business. You should do this. How come you don't get a job? You're going to get bored. Dude, I just worked for 30 years. Like, most people work like a state job for 30 years and retire and never look at that job again. But if you do it at a different age bracket, all of a sudden it's super weird. Like, you have too much life to live. You need to do something. And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I spent thousands upon thousands of hours on my motorcycle every day since I was 4 years old, and I have no inkling to go like get a job. I'm not bored. I don't feel like I need fulfillment in my life. Like, I need a purpose, like, because that's what everyone said. Like, my mom said it. So you can't just golf every day. You need a purpose in life. I'm like, and then I buy her a bunch of beers and food and shit. She's like, dude, this is so fun. I'm like, yeah, no shit, Phyllis. Telling me I need a purpose. Like it's just a different dynamic. Like, people think you got to be rich to retire. You don't. And people think you need to have this fulfillment in life. And I did, dude. I had 30 years of the most bitchin' life, and I'm totally content. I'm comfy, so I kind of got over it.
This the other day too, when I talked to you about coming on this podcast, and like, you do love golf, and you get to do some cool stuff with golf, working with some people who are within the golf industry, and like, I'm pretty sure you've made a couple bucks from that, and like, who knows, maybe you have no expectations. You're not looking at it like, I need to make a living with golf, but you've already made your living, and like, you're doing something you enjoy, and maybe this will turn into like a gig that brings in some money that's fun, that, like the next thing that you enjoy, and I think, I don't know, I fall into that sometimes where I think like, I'm not sure that I could manage without like having something to do for some reason. I don't think that's a good thing, but that's how I just feel about myself. But like we said, you retired well, and like, why would you run off and get a job that you hate just for the sake of getting a job? Like, yeah. But you are doing some stuff in the golf world now, and like, wouldn't that just be the icing on the cake, right? That you retired happily from freestyle motocross, and then you just enjoyed golf for a couple years, and then an opportunity to be a personality within the golf world came up. Like, maybe that's how this shit works.
And the thing with golf, like, I have made a couple bucks on it, but the thing that I love is like a lot of the stuff I do, whether it's for Jason Day, who's a PGA player, or the PGA meme stuff, it's charity. So it's like, it kind of is making me feel good that we go there. Like, I help Trav kind of run the PGA meme stuff a little bit here and there. And, it's all helping kids like, like youth that has cancer or underprivileged kids. And So it's like I'm not just out there being a full degenerate and just golfing. You know, it's Sunridge I am for sure, but
I was gonna say, dude, that Instagram tells a different story, dude, because all I see is Fireball and Coors Light.
still parody. I'm still ripping a little Fireball, but I'm nervous, dude. I'm not gonna. But you know that makes me feel good. It's like I'm going out and like you're supporting this charity, and you know that kind of stuff's fun. I've made a couple bucks, but also it's like when people ask what I'm doing, I'm still working on investments. Like I still talk to my financial planner all the time. I actually golfed with golf with networking. I golfed with the band manager of Five Finger Death Punch, and he's 45 years old, and he could retire anytime he wants because he had these like some investments. So I hopped in with him on that, and you know you get like a 20% return every 6 months on your investment. So it's like I'm still working daily, you know. But it's like when someone around town's like, oh, so like what do you do? I'm not gonna be like, oh, sit down, I want to tell you. So you know I've been really looking at Tesla lately, you know, and Costco, like this and that. You know, I don't like talking about that. That's just kind of my thing that I want to do, you know. And so I'm always working. I'm just like you said. Like I told my mom, I'm like sometimes I'm bored. Like if everyone's working or out of town or something, like I get bored. But do I want to be bored working a 9 to 5 that I hate, or do I want to be bored at my house for a couple days till we go do something or I go on a trip, you know? And I would take the latter every day. It's like I don't want to go to a job I hate, and that's why I am still, you know, working on investments and this and that and the golf thing. So it's like I'm still doing stuff. I'm just not a good like Instagram guy. Like I said, I'm not like, dude, look at me. So today I was doing this and this. It's like, you know, half the time I don't even post that I'm golfing because I'm like, these people gotta be sick of the fireball hold and then the shank out into the weeds or hitting the house. Like, I do a lot of archives.
That's another interesting way you put that right there, though, that like you are actively working on investments and making more money through the money that you have, right? You're not fully just sitting, kicking back. Like you're constantly working on that through relationships and people you know and different ways that you can you know monetize things better, which is funny because that in itself is a career path for people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But the fact that you're doing it without a license, I guess, makes people think that you're not doing anything, which
right.
That's funny. So, hey, man, I'm learning something today, too. Like, this is, that's interesting.
Like I said, maybe gambling was the wrong way, but it's like that, you know. It's fun to pay attention to stuff. And like I said, I'm going through some stuff with some money right now where I'm going to come across a little bit of money. So the first thing I do is call my financial planner. Because, like I told you, I'm not a by-the-book dude. Don't know what I'm doing, but we had a very good call of, like, where I can maximize my money, what we can do with it, how much maybe I should hold on to, like, should I put more into my house? Like, what, you know, I've always been very good at, like, because like I said, I don't know anything. Like, I don't know shit about real estate besides you buy it, pay the taxes on it, and get rent from it. That's pretty much all I know, you know? So I'm always picking everyone's brains, and I still do that to this day. But like I said, if you're not posting about it or telling, like, if I'm not calling you every day and telling you, like, Adam, dude, I just put another 10 grand away. It's sick, dude. Should get about, should really go up. You know, it's like, I don't do that. Everyone's just like, dude, Mike is just like being a degenerate and not doing nothing. It's like, no, dude, like my end goal, like if someday I can get my portfolio up and, you know, my monthly income, like say 10 or 15 grand, like that'd be bitching. Like that's my goal. And not for any reason, but just to do it, to like, it's kind of like a game to like keep seeing how much further I can go, you know? And so I'm always working on it. But like I said, I just post the stuff. Half the time when I post, it's because I'm buzzed. I'm like, dude, this fireball looks sick. You know, that's why. And my archives, dude, because Kenny Bell gets so pissed. He's all, enough with the riding mic. It's been years now. I'm like, dude, I like it. Yeah, I'm still always working. I know I come off as like just this lazy. Like I told you with freestyle, it's like everyone's like, dude, like you could have probably been good if you weren't lazy. I'm like, well, there's a difference between lazy and a little scared. You know, like I rode with you at Miller's house and Levi in Vegas every day. We'd go out every single day. It wasn't that I was lazy. It was just like my mindset wasn't there and it wasn't keeping up with me. You know what I mean? And so I come off as lazy, but dude, like I slept like 3 hours a night when I rode because I'm like, dude, am I going to get shows? Is Rockstar going to fire me? Like, am I going to get hurt, you know, this year? Like, so I slept like 3 hours a night. And then I'm like, dude, sick. I'm retired. I don't have to worry about that ever again. And now I'll wake up at like 3 at night and I'm like, or 3 in the morning. And I'm like, so if I invest this, I got to golf tomorrow. Do I have golf balls? Dude, I got to get the oil change in my, I still sleep the exact same. Like my mind is never shutting off. So
yeah.
Man, that sounds like a couple less stressful thoughts, though. So I'm all right with that.
It is, but
that reminds me of like when we were competing together, and you just look so casual and just goof around all day or whatever, and I'm like, oh sweet, I can do that too. And so I would, and my riding just went, woo. And then I remember my manager at the time, he's like, man, Mike looks like he's goofing around, but he's not. He's taking it serious. Like, this is his job. And what you're saying now is like, that's your life. Like, yeah, okay, it looks like you're goofing around, but you're not. You're taking it very serious. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
See you, Adam.
Yeah,
One of the things, sorry, Carol.
That was my nervous riding too, right? Is like the more nervous I was, I couldn't sit in the corner with headphones on and rehearse. The more I rehearsed my run, I was guaranteed to mess up out there. It's like after practice, I'd have my run mapped out. I thought about it twice and then let myself zone in when I was like waiting for the starter, you know? So that's why I was always messing with it. It wasn't that I wasn't serious. Like I was nervous as hell, and we're all competitive. So if you think I went to X Fighters or X Games and like just didn't care about it, like you're just like everyone was so wrong, you know? But I just like sat there, the more like I just started getting like pent up and talking myself out of my run, or, you know, like what if I overjump this double. And so it's like once I had my stuff memorized, I was just annoying the shit out of you guys, probably trying to ruin your guys' runs a little bit so I could hit that top 5.
Probably worked. Yeah. It was quite cool. I remember that stuff about comps is like you spend so much time with all you guys, everyone. You start to learn like their tics, like when they're nervous, you know, like you might be doing that. Like I remember like Bilko would always be making more jokes than normal. You know, everyone has like certain things that you can start to read the room a little bit. It's quite cool. But I just always remembered that about you. I think it was in London where I picked up. I'm like, man, this guy's just clowning around. He's still going out there riding so good. But yeah, one thing I like about what you're saying earlier is you had the foresight to like understand, right, you got another 10 years left in the sport, and you just went hard from that point on. But then the other thing that I really like about it is you went from having that mindset change in say 2011 or whenever it was, 2010 or something, and in 9 years you retired. You know, like that's not very long to absolutely like step away from something. You know, it takes people 60 years to do that or something like that. So I quite like that. Like that was pretty cool. It makes it quite achievable. And then the other thing, you and I'm just sitting back here listening, because everything's quite relatable. Because you and I are actually we kind of finish at the same time. We're kind of doing the same thing in different ways. You know, it's quite cool. But the other thing that most people I can relate to is they think you need a fixed amount of cash to retire, when it's all about cash flow. Like it's not actually any fixed amount of money. You're going to spend it all. You know, so I just think those are really epic points that people should pick up on.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I mean, because I was the same. It was like, you know, I got to ride freestyle and have $3 million in the bank to be comfortable when I'm done riding to go do something else. And then, like I said, as I went from Carson to Vegas to back to here, I'm like, I think this is achievable, you know, but you have to live a simple life. Like, for one, I don't have kids. Like, I know kids, you know, Adam, like they bring on an extra income that you kind of need and stuff like that. Like my dog, dude, the haircut's like $140. I'm like, bitch, you're growing that shit out for a bit, dude. This month is a little tight. But no, you know, and I told you guys, like, I just wanted to retire and not have to be miserable at a job. Like I'm not against working at all. It's like if I had to go work at the golf course for 3-4 days a week to just get my bills covered, you know, I'm fine with that. But I didn't want to have the stress of like, dude, I've got $150 in my checking account and my bills are due next month. Like, what am I going to do? You know, so I spent years like kind of preparing, like you said, 9 years, really preparing. Like, okay, this is where I want to be at the end. Like I didn't have 2019 picked as a retirement, but I thought more or less I was going to be forced into retirement because I wasn't going to go to like fairs, you know, and ride for $500 again. I never wanted to take a step back. You know what I mean? Like we had a good career. The last thing I want to do is go ride a 4-day fair and make, you know, $1,500. I'm like, dude, not being mean, but like I just didn't do that, you know. And kind of one of the things that damn near forced me into retirement was that like shitty circus that Berlou was on, like the actual tent circus.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, he's all, dude, it's like, what did he say? Was it 10 grand a month? Like 4 jumps a day.
Oh, right, yeah.
4 jumps a day and like 10 grand a month. And like you stayed there, like I stayed with Roe in a motorhome. So I'm like, dude, that's easy. I'll go do, because Berlou was hurt or something happened. So I filled in for him for a month. Dude, I spent the whole 10 grand because I was so miserable. Like you're sitting at this, like in Buffalo, New York, sitting in this motorhome. The circus is, let's just say low end, you know, give them a little credit. It's low. And so, dude, we were at the bar every night, you know, beers and, you know, bar food. And like, dude, my health, like not that I'm super healthy, but my health was just taking a turn. You're eating 20 chicken wings and 30 beers a night. Go hit the jump for four jumps again. Yeah, I know. Did you see it? But at that point, I'm like, what am I doing, dude? Like, I'm not 10 grand a month sounds nice, but not when you're miserable and spending 9 of it, like,
No,
so
those gigs were what? Were they 6 or were they 7 days a week?
6, we got 1 day off a week.
And that's crazy. Like the mental wear. I've never actually done one like that, other than the Cal State Fair, which is 17 days straight. Like you've done that too.
Yeah.
But like the thought of having a gig for a month where you have to be in gear every day and say like, I don't know, the middle of the day, the evening or something, it just feels so monotonous, and it feels like, dude, you're Bill Murray in Groundhog Day, and like you never really have time to like get away from it and like settle. You wake up in the morning and you're already like, oh, I gotta be at the venue in 6 hours, and then you're there in the evening and you get back and you're like, well, I better go to bed. I don't know, like, sure, they're probably great for some people. It's a good like get in and get out of your real job opportunity if that's where you need to start. But I agree with what you're saying, like especially reaching like the highest highs of freestyle motocross, and then on the backside you end up there and you're like, what the fuck happened? Like, how am I here right now?
Yeah, and going back to the retirement thing is like, you ride for 30 days straight, or minus the 1 day off, so whatever that equals. I'm like bad at math again, but like my focus started slipping. There was nights where like, because all I had to do, I did a switchblade. What did I do? A switchblade, a turn down, which I sucked at, a holy grab, and a flip heel clicker. That's all I had to do every night. And I remember one time coming out of the turn, going up like probably, day 15 or 16. And I'm like going up the ramp just to do it like a heel clicker flip, dude. I'm like halfway up the ramp and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like lost. Like luckily I didn't like float it or something, because I'm like, I'm not engaged in this show. Like, and I hated that. And that's where I started getting the last year I rode Nitro. It's like, and I'm like third or fourth in the train and I'm not engaged. I'm like, dude, if I don't want to float or do something stupid, take you out of your tour and your money, and and that's what made me retire. I wasn't afraid of getting injured. Like I was very confident in my skills, and I only had to do the same 6 tricks. Like I was confident with that, but I was getting very nervous with my focus level. Like practicing with you that last year when I got that Honda, and riding that last tour, I'm like, this is how you get hurt. Like I'm not going to get hurt because of my riding ability. I'm going to get hurt because I'm like sitting there warming up my bike and looking at the crowd. And then we take off for a train in Nitro, and I'm like, I don't even know what trick I'm supposed to do. Like I hated that because I just remember like, like Krusty days and early Nitro days, or Nukes, even because Nukes we had to do freaking 900 jumps a night, and it's like every jump I was like when Mick sent us off, dude, my focus was on that ramp and exactly what I was doing, and I could just feel that 17, 18, 19. I'm like, dude, I am like airhead right now. I'm like, dude, and started going to hotel bars more, and like never woke up buzzed a couple times still, but like for the most part, it's just more like killing time at the hotel bar.
And I woke up buzzed a lot of times, I think.
Yeah. I'm starting to drink before, the night before shows a lot. And I'm like, because I remember you and me on Nukes one time, I think that first year we were just juiced, and we hit hotel bars or sports bars every night, and I remember like you and me talking about it like halfway through, and we're like, when did this become a normal? Like, when did we just have to be at a bar right after the show? Because I remember just going back, like, we'd be in freaking Australia on a Friday night, and we'd go back into our rooms, chill for a bit, and like all go to bed. Yeah. And then Saturday night at the after party, we'd have a ripping time. But it's like, when did it become normal to like, hey, see, like I'm gonna drop my bag off and I'll be at the bar, okay? And you're like, yeah, dude, I'll be there. Like, you do 14 weeks of that, and then it turns into 40 weeks to 52 weeks, and you're just like, dude, this sport's too dangerous to be doing that. And that was my retirement call, pretty much.
It did turn into that, right? And like, I wonder if this is also the progression that, I know it's not like a dangerous job that they have, but the progression that happens to a lot of like band guys, why they end up being sober if they want to keep doing it, is because like, yeah, it starts out as like fun on the weekends, and then it just keeps progressing. Because like, yeah, I remember going to Nukes too in the first year. Me and you, we'd be juiced, and we'd get in and we'd go to the hotel bar, and we'd probably have like 4 beers, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe 6. Maybe we'd have a 6-pack.
I threw in a every once.
What's that?
I threw in a 12 every once in a while, but that's for
We were pretty mellow the first year, but this was like our intro to drinking the night before we rode. And then it like progressed where like year 3 of Nukes was like insane, dude. Like
right.
just Listen, I'm not going to speak for everybody, even though I know everybody was involved in this. We were blackout drunk the night before we had to ride, and like waking up, some guys woke up and they were 100%, they were still hammered, and it was show day and it was practice time. And it definitely escalated to this point where, yeah, I've thought that before. Like, how did this become like the norm? It used to be fun once in a while, and then it became like, it's just the norm. It's just what you do after every show. You used to do a whole crusty tour and you'd drink a couple times and then you'd get smashed at the after party at the last show.
Yeah.
And then it became like, oh, dude, days off or days on or whatever they say in Crust or on Nitro, where like if you have off days in between tour, like you just drink for 3-4 days in a row. And
Or
it really escalated to like a bad point. And I didn't quit the riding, but I think that's why I quit the drinking.
yeah, yeah, and that's totally understandable, especially with you like still riding, and that's why I like Levi because he was like 12 still. So when he'd ride at my Vegas house, still, dude, you want a couple beers? And we'd have like 2 beers after a good. Actually, I'm going to bed. I'm like sick. It's like having a son. I'm like, this is bitch, dude. But
Funny.
yeah, and granted, we didn't get hurt doing it, so like there's not a lot of times I would take back because it like the feeling of dropping, landing at a different city, dropping your gear bag off, and seeing everyone at the hotel bar. It's like I did freestyle towards the end there more for my boys. That's the one thing I do miss, is I'll say that. It's like I miss landing in a different city. Like when I see you guys on tour or something, I'm like, damn, that used to be pretty fun. Like, or bus rides. Like if we had, 3-day bus ride and we're just hammered. I'm like, that kind of stuff was fun to me. So I do miss that, but I do it at the golf course now. Let's be real.
Yeah.
You do. Let me see. We're getting close to what our cutoff time was going to be. To get back on the path of, or the topic of money, what spending regrets do you have for your career, and like how much different do you think life would be if you hadn't made them? What do you think about that?
Like I said, my Carson house for sure, but it's hard to have a regret because I thought landscaping, remodeling, some of it, building a pool house, building a pool. I'm like, this is gonna be $1 million property, and I paid 500 for it because we would pay cash for like upgrades, right? I wasn't like refinancing my house, and then the economy like took a shit, which none of us could see. But I'm like, man, like I said, in hindsight, the only reason why I'm saying I have regrets, in hindsight, I was never there. Like when I built everything in my dad had to go over there and mow my lawn and clean my pool and take care. My mom's cleaning my house because we're gone on, crusty tour for 14 weeks, and I'm like, why did it was my first time making money, and I thought I needed the biggest of everything. Kind of back to what we started this whole conversation with. And so that's kind of a regret of mine. I wish I would have been, but I didn't know either because like '05 was really good. I bought the house in '06. I'm like, well, I got a Rockstar deal. Maybe I'll ride X Games. I didn't know like Crusty Tour was going to start happening and all these, tours were going to start popping up where I was never home. So there's like regret there, but I didn't know. I didn't know I was never going to be there. And then, obviously with the economy taking the shit, like seeing condos for 20, 30 grand when we were probably making the best money we could have. It's like all three of us should have like 15 keys right now and be making 10 grand a month just sitting here, but when you're Levi and you're 10 years old and we're 30 and no one's telling us what to do, it's like, how the hell were we supposed to know? Did you get that? But it's like, how do you know? Like the economy takes a shit. We're losing money on our property. How are we supposed to know that you're supposed to go buy up more at 25 years old?
Yeah.
So those are two regrets, but I look at it as learning too. Like I didn't start spending all my money, and like I said, I didn't keep moving into a bigger, because I made from my Carson house to here. I started making more and more money. Like my Rockstar deal went up. My nukes paid really good, like I said, and I started making more money. But as I made more money, I went down in all my my house and everything. So I'm glad I learned on it, but I just wish I would have been more in the moment and thought like I don't need this big house right now when I'm not home. Like I come home, do my laundry, repack my bag, and go to another show.
Yeah,
it's like a huge house and nothing. Like Cliffy lived there and Rush lived. They like had more fun in it than I did. My mom's using the pool, and I'm like, bitching, dude. I'm in freaking Switzerland right now.
Yeah, it's funny though because if you don't learn the lesson, then you're gonna learn it down the line sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And like you always I always look at it as lucky that it happened when it did, and maybe lucky that you put all that money into it and then the market crashed and you got the fuck out. You had your money lesson early, because like, can you imagine having your money lesson late like I did?
Yeah, no kidding, right? Yeah, yeah. And it was a good, like, it's weird because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and then it happened, and all of a sudden I figured it out, right? Like I kind of went in, hop, did that, didn't buy property, but then like a year later, I'm like, it started like dawning on me, like what's going on, and that's where I started cutting overhead and started looking into investing more. Like stop spending and save more is kind of how I started looking at it. So, like I said, it's not a huge regret. It's more of like a learning process, but sometimes you do look back and I'm like, because I probably put 250 grand of my own. Like I remember, Europe was always all cash. And I remember like in my safe, I had like I was paying cash for like a $10,000 part of the remodel, or paid cash for a lot of my pool. And it's like, damn, if I had that like still in my safe right now, like didn't need all that. I wasn't home, so you think about it every once in a while. But I really try to look forward. There's nothing I can do about it. I can sit there and have the pity party, feel sorry for myself, but all I can do right now is not do that again and just kind of keep looking forward to like better myself. So it goes both ways.
Definitely.
That's it. That's all I got. How much longer have we?
Yeah, almost done, but I got.
Yeah, we're pretty much there.
We don't got enough time for a refill, but sorry, were you going to say something, Levi?
No, carry on. I was just going to move on to what we're going to ask next, but
I think we got 2 more questions left. I got one, and then I don't know if you have any specific ones that you wanted to do, Levi, but I got one, and then I've got our closer question. And if you got any, then just let me know after this one. So, Mike, you don't have to talk about this if you don't want, but what year was it that your Rockstar deal ended?
It was 2019, the year I quit.
Okay. Oh, so it ended at the beginning of 2019, then you weren't contracted for 2019.
Yeah. And
you quit in that was like July 2019.
Yeah, correct.
So, since nobody here is sponsored by Rockstar, would you mind telling us the story of how you actually got terminated from Rockstar?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one. So, I was their first ever athlete out of anything. Partied with them in Huntington Beach for that U.S. Open of Surf in 05. Met these dudes that had Rockstar can. Like, dude, we're starting a brand next year, and we want you to be our first athlete. I'm like, yeah. Everyone's drunk. Everyone has a brand, I'm like, whatever. Well, sure, shit. In October, I had a contract. I'm like, this is bitching. And dude, had a good, what's that? 13 years with them, and I was kind of close with them, but we were always kind of, I got to the point where I had thought if I wrote a bunch for them, it was going to do it, but they started wanting more Instagram. And like I said, I'm not a salesman on social media. So we kind of started butting heads a little bit, but I mean, dude, I was thankful. They paid me a lot of money, a lot more than I probably should have been paid. Back to what we were talking about with what I actually did in contests and stuff. And so I knew 17, they renewed me, and I'm like, okay, it's getting close. I knew, I didn't take it to heart that they were going to fire me. I'm like, it's probably getting close, and then 18, they re-signed me. I'm like, damn. So 19 comes around and I don't hear from Mateus. I don't get my January pay. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes they're late. And then February, I don't get paid. So I actually just wrote Mateus and I'm like, dude, can I grab some of the Winter X that came out? So they had the new Rockstar beanies. I'm like, I need some. So I'm like, can I get some beanies? And he's like, oh, you're not on payroll anymore, so we can't send you nothing. And I'm like, just like that. And that was it, dude. He didn't say thanks for everything. Hey, we had a good run. That was pretty much our last email text thing ever. And I'm like, what a weird way to go. So I actually talked to Jolene, and Jolene's did the same thing to me. Just stopped paying me and didn't have nothing to say. And like I said, I'm not bitter at the firing because I was towards the end anyways. But I was thinking in my head, I'm like, let's go through. Let's both agree that we're gonna end it. Maybe hire someone. Let's do a cool little farewell video. I wanted to thank him for 13 years of pretty much making my dream come true and giving me the overhead to do what I've been doing, and I had this whole vision in my head. And then when they did that, I'm like, screw you. What kind of company is it? I got this for a while. And, but I still ended up doing a thing on my Instagram, kind of went through my 4 main sponsors that kind of stuck with me through my career, and still thanked them because like I said, at the end of the day, it was a little over $1 million they ended up paying me, yeah. I'm not going to be a complete dick and, throw them under the bus, but I was just more bummed. It's and I've learned this a lot now as I get older, as you think all these guys in the industry are your best friend, when they sponsor you, and then even when they kind of fire you, you think they're your best friend, but you kind of realize no one really cares about you, in a sense, you guys are my boys. I know I've got my friends and I've got a couple of industry friends, but it's like even, like with Fox, they were always like your family, like if you need anything, you're good with us. And then like COVID kind of hit, and I like went to just order a couple shirts. Like it wasn't a freaking $2,000 order. I'm like, hey, could I grab a couple flannels? And I'm like, nah, sorry, budget's shot now. And then lo and behold, 2 days later on Instagram, there's some MXA test rider that has 100 followers, and he's got like a box for his whole family. Like, thanks, dude. Kid's gonna be stoked. Wife's stoked. And I'm like, damn. I wanted like $100 in flannels, and like I got laughed at based. So I just started getting super. Like I detached myself from the moto industry for a long time. Like because I fell for it. I fell for the fact that some of these guys were like my friends and like, liked what I did for them, and I was stoked they were taking care of me. And then at the end of the day, you stop riding, and it's like, dude, they pull the blind down. Like you're done, And I'm like Ethica was about the last remaining one that was cool. They kept me on until like 7 or 8 months ago. I think they might have got bought out or something, so that changed. But I mean, like Danny and all those guys at Ethica were super cool. Like I didn't ride for 6 years, and I still had a budget with them, and
Yeah.
still talk to Danny to this day, and like that's all I cared about. I don't care that you're not going to send me product because I'm not doing nothing. Like half the time I don't even post if I get something now. You know what I mean? So I understand my value there, but I think I just like my feelings got a little hurt thinking that these people were my friends, but just realizing that you're just an employer of theirs. You're there to do a job, and when you're done, they've got the next kid coming up, and they've got the next big racer coming up, and it took me a while to learn that, and now I'm at peace, like with everything. But it was kind of like an ego strike for a bit there. I'm like, damn, these people really don't give two shits about you,
Yeah, and the funniest thing is that they say they do. And, I went through the
Yeah.
same sort of thing with a lot of people in my career. They all say they do. And they say, like, the family word, people love to throw that family word away around. And, like, I've always considered myself to be, like, a fairly disconnected person to people. Like, you're either, like, actually one of my close friends or, like, I just kind of don't give a fuck, Like, I'm not going to, like, pretend that we're best friends. But
Yeah.
a lot of people do. And I find it very strange. But that story that you just told, me and you have actually talked about this a few times, like, and I feel it does, but do you feel like that whole scenario actually also led to the retirement that happened within 2019?
Yeah, it did for sure. Because I kind of in my head had told myself like once Rockstar, because like I said, I was down to making like 50 and under on tours, and so I'm like, is this worth the risk of getting hurt? But I still have, I was down to like 50 grand with Rockstar at that point. And I'm like, well, if it's 100 grand a year, that's still worth it. Or even if it was 75 grand a year, like I can still kind of justify it. But like once they fired me, I'm like, okay, now I'm just riding for a paycheck, and I like back to the not practicing thing because I didn't know I was fired from Rockstar back in October when I wasn't riding, like I was just over the practice. But that definitely like kind of like etched it into my brain. I'm like, okay, it's probably time to settle up. And I retired at 37 years old, like I'm not big, I can't ride till I'm 62 years old. It's like at some point
I'm trying, bro.
but it definitely had a big decision on my retirement. Because, if I'm
Was it purely like numbers, crunching numbers, or do you think there was like a little bit of like bitterness towards the industry as well for just like burning you basically?
No, it was numbers. It was all numbers. Like I said, if Nitro would have had one of those tours where we were busy for 6 or 7 or 8 months, like I'm making enough money to make up for that. But it's like that year, I think they only had like those 8 events planned, and I didn't want to ride the Cal State Fair again. I knew that.
Fuck,
and
that was hard.
Really looking to grind out a bunch of small shows during the summer, and Nitro had nothing planned. I'm like, dude, I just made $12,000 for 8 weeks on the road, and I'm like, I can probably like the first year I pulled out carts into the driving range. I think I made like 10 grand for the summer. I'm like, I didn't even have to get hurt, and I got a shifter afterwards, dude. Nice cold beer after doing the driving range. I'm like, this is it. This is it for me, boys.
Oh, that's cool. I like the stories.
Yeah.
Levi, I'm sorry. I've just been talking this whole time, and I've given you
It's
no real
all good, man. It's all good. Yeah, no, I don't really have much, but I will say Mike's story is very, very relative to the Rockstar one with a lot of people I know in the industry with long-term sponsors. It's just like, sweet, see ya. And everyone likes to throw around the word family. And it's just like, I knew from a young age, I'm like, you're just saying that, and then they all prove it at the end that they don't mean it. So, that's quite interesting, and you're definitely not the only one. Yeah.
It'd be a way better dynamic, right? If they were just straightforward that like, hey, we like you, dude. This is a purely business relationship,
Yeah.
and like at the time that we don't find you being like a valuable asset to our company, like we're sorry, but that's just the nature of the business. We'll have to split ways, and if you want to, communicate like just the openness, like tell
Yeah.
me how it is. Don't bullshit me. Like just
Yeah.
because I'm winning shit right now, you don't have to pretend you like me and we're best friends and you're gonna send me Christmas cards for the rest of your life. Like just be real.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
Definitely.
I wasn't mad about getting fired at all. Like
Mm.
I told you, I felt it coming for three. Like each time I signed a new 3 year, I'm like, dude, this has got to be the last one. So it wasn't bitter that I was getting clipped. Like I knew where my writing was. I knew I was at the end. Like I wasn't trying hard. I'm not a good social media dude, and that's what they kind of wanted more out of me. So, but like I said, I was ready to like do a full video with them, do this, do that. Thank you for everything. Like, right off into the sunset. And just the fact that like I ordered beanies and Mateus is like, oh, you're not on payroll. Didn't even send me the beanies. Like I got clipped from like everything. Like I was not a part of Rockstar whatsoever anymore. And that's what like made me bitter. It wasn't the fired. It was like, just like you're tight with these dudes for 13 years and you do shit. You bend over backwards for them, like going to a dumbass signing at a dealership that you don't want to do, but you have to. And you're just going and going. Huh?
You know what's funny about that whole situation that you went through? They're still doing the same thing to people.
Mm-hmm.
Ronaldo, just the other year when he lost his Rockstar deal, he told me it was the same thing. My contract was through WMG, so obviously WMG informed me that I wasn't being renewed in, I think, 2020 or whatever it was. Or, sorry, I don't know what year it was. But they told me I wasn't being renewed. And listen, this is hearsay. I didn't hear it direct, but what I heard in the phone call when they let Rockstar know that I was informed about not being renewed, the response was, why did you tell him?
Weird. Gee, it's so bizarre.
I want to milk it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like we both, all three of us just said, is like we're loyal to the people. Like I said, they paid me over $1 million, so it's like I wanted to do it right by them, because I was thankful for the money. And at the end of the day, it's like they can just cut the tie and like I said, dude, Mateus, all his text was like, "Oh, dude, you're not on payroll no more."
Which is cool. Cut the tie, but like, geez, dude, like I'm not an infant. Like you can say, like, hey, dude, we can't renew you. All right, yeah. I'm bummed for a minute, but like, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. So that was my story, and like I said, it burnt me out on the industry pretty good. I mean, like I still to this day barely watch moto. Really, like I'll watch the first motos or something, but
yeah.
It's just such a weird deal. It's like, and I don't think it's just us, dude. I mean, I'm sure. Imagine a basketball player. He's playing good, and then he has a bad year, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, your $30 million contract's void." And he's like, "Oh shit," like it's not just action sports; it's in everything. But like I said, I was just naive enough to think that like these people were cool and had my back, and we are going to do fun things together. And then all of a sudden, it's like nothing. And I'm like, Jesus, it's pretty cutthroat,
Yeah. Do you have a minute to talk about your speed and style part of your career?
Yeah, of course. I'm on your guys' 30%.
Yeah, man. No, I was cruising, going with it.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure everybody was still good because I wrote it down and I definitely wanted to talk about it because like it was such a man. It was like the event that was just built for you, and it's funny. We talked initially about like niches. I think we did. I heard you say something about it, but it's funny that like a niche can create so much for you, right? If you can master a niche, and like you were really good at freestyle and you had really great style, and you were also like really good at motocross, and like you had really good speed, and like then all of a sudden it's like the universe just put these together into speed and style for you, and like how crazy, like the perfect event for you to ride, and like you dominated it. Did you ever not win a speed and style event?
Yeah, well, the first two I crashed out of, like way back in the day, and
that would have been Home Depot, right? Was it
Home
Depot?
The Navy X Games one?
Yeah, I remember that.
So I came back from that was when I got both the surgery on both the knees.
Yeah,
and I think I rode for like 3 weeks, and everyone's like, "Dude, you got to ride speeds. You're guaranteed at least top 3." And I'm like, "Fuck, okay." And had that dumbass like you come off the rolling, and there was like a whoop section of triple.
I remember that.
Ate shit, and I wasn't ready. And then the Home Depot one, I got Travis in the first round, like, because it was random draw. So I'm like, well, I'm out of this one. He ends up crashing. But what a lot of people don't know is my bike, Cliffy put foam in the tank. Because remember, we were trying to like figure out how to like cut weight for stuff. So remember, Supercross racers put like that thick, like skid plate foam in the gas tank, and it would keep the gas from like sloshing. You know, you didn't have to run a full tank or whatever. And Travis was kind of smoking me anyways, but I was like, I still want to at least put in an effort just to like not give up. And so I do a knack flip into the first one. When I landed, my bike died like all the way. And then right as I got to the bottom of the ramp, it like started coming back on, and I fully just looped out. And everyone's like, "Oh, Mason's nervous, dude." That's what I hate about like certain stuff is you never get to tell your side of the story. Like it'd be cool if they did more on track stuff with, you know, throughout freestyle and everything, because it's not always that we were sucked that day. It's like shit happens, you know.
Dude, and wouldn't it benefit like the sport in general if they did that? Like fucking tell the rider story, like talk to the riders, get them
Yeah.
on there. Do you think they want to listen to Jamie Little talk the whole time? Like, sure, yeah, they a little bit, but like you're supposed to like highlight the athletes, the people that the people came here to see, and there wasn't ever really that much of that.
Ever, you know, and it just sucks for us because we're on live TV. I'm looping out off a ramp jump, which I've made my living off, and everyone's like, "Oh, dude, Mason was nervous against Travis." I'm like, "Well, I was nervous because my bike didn't actually get back into freaking spark plug territory until I was on the ramp, you know."
Hey, speaking of spark plugs, that was 2008, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was when my bike like fouled a plug or whatever, first jump of the morning, right behind you. Remember, you said you jumped the jump and you turned around and you're like, "Where'd Adam go?"
yeah. Bike chasing me, but no Adam. I'm like, "Oh, shit."
I was
Dude.
laying on the backside of the landing with a broken hip, dude.
I remember
Yeah,
that. So I don't remember that. Sorry, this just brought me back to memories of like early days riding with you guys at comps, and you'd always do practice sessions first or together. You know how we'd always team up. And I just always remember like Mike going out and Adam just right behind, and Mike hasn't even jumped this jump yet. And he's letting him get towed in. I was always like, man, Adam really trusts Mike. But it was perfect every time. That's funny. Just brought back memories.
Dude, I need
But
like
so
a
good.
hair, dude, on my tail. I'm like, Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
get out of here.
But go into your speed and style career a little bit and tell me what that was like, because that was like super cool for you. I mean, you three-peated X Games, you were like unbeatable. It was a pretty rad time in your career.
It was, and like you said, the fact that those two worlds collided. Like I raced arena cross for 3 or 4 years before I got into freestyle, which speed and style basically turned into, you know. And actually, that was the most nervous I've ever been in my life because that was the only time racing or freestyle that I've ever felt like I could be like a favorite. You know, I'm like, dude, I need to do good at this thing. So back to my story at Home Depot, I end up riding my freestyle bike in the second run against Renner, and I eat shit because it's pogoey. Like I had two different setups, you know, like in San Diego when I barely clipped the jump, I had freestyle suspension, and that thing just airmailed me, dude, like I was gone. So after '08, I didn't do it for those couple of years, like 10 or whatever they did in Staples. And I got invited back in 11, and I'm like, dude, like I'm not messing around with this no more. I went to Hart Supercross track. That's kind of why I moved down there, honestly. Dude, I was riding Supercross every day, just trying to like hone my skills back in, riding the ramps a little bit because I kind of knew I wasn't going to do super gnarly tricks. But I started road biking and running, and I'm like, dude, I got to take this. This is my chance, my one chance to do good, you know? And so the first year I led every lap, but got second behind Nate on freestyle. So the next year I went to 450s because I was a little underpowered getting up the ramp. I was trying to go fast, and my bike was like maxing out right at the top of the ramp, so I couldn't really flip. So next year I go to 450s, and same thing. Like I'm riding Conway's house with you, you know, riding Conway's every day, running, and I'm like, and I remember people they're like, why are you riding your road bike 40 miles when this thing is a 2-minute race? I'm like, I just want to know in my head that I am overly prepared. So I did two of them where I could have got hurt, serious, like because I wasn't ready for them, you know. So clicked off 12 and then 2 and 13, 3 golds, which was nice. Like I was stoked. Like the first gold took all the pressure off because like I knew I could get a gold and I didn't want to mess. What's that?
Where was the first gold?
L.A. L.A. 20.
Or Staples.
Yeah, in Staples. So it was me and Nate again, head to head, kind of like a rematch from the year before, but I was on a 450 this time. So I had a little more horsepower on the slick track, and I knew I had to beat Nate by probably like 3 seconds at least with his tricks, but he was coming back from an injury as well, I think, and he kind of, I don't know because I'm racing, but he kind of messed up a trick a little bit, and I got 3 seconds on him, so I ended up getting the gold. So like that kind of relieved the pressure. I'm like, okay, 1 gold's good. Now I've proved everyone that my racing career wasn't a joke. You know, like I've made Supercross main, I've made some outdoor nationals, tons of arena cross main. So it's like I should be able to beat Nate Adams on the track. Not no disrespect, but Nate kind of was straight into freestyle, and I spent 20 years racing professionally. You know, so Barcelona, Munich. I remember Matt Rabot running his mouth in LA saying that with like Matt and what was your old agent's name, Levi? Russ.
Russ. Yeah.
Yeah,
Russ.
like I to them running their mouth up in the stands at Staples. So sure shit as like fate would have it, me and Rabot end up in the final, and it's a circle track that year in Barcelona. I'm like, dude, how am I gonna win this? There's no way. And dude, he got.
Hold on, let's clarify to everybody listening. You're saying that only because you thought that your tricks were less good than Rabot's, and you would have to make up such a gap on the track that you didn't think it was possible.
I had my doubts, right? Because speed and style is hard too. Everyone's not out there doing the gnarliest flip tricks because, for one, we're not very good racers. So like all of us are pumping up and going up to the ramp, hauling ass, flipping. You know, like I remember in Barcelona one time I was in like I think it was in just the time qualifying. It's more scary by yourself, right? And so I was out there ripping, dude. I did a flip whip, dude. I think I landed in the grandstands, dude. I like didn't even touch the landing at all. So, but yeah, so being a circle track, like a small circle too. It was ramp, turn, one rhythm, turn. That was all it was. And Rabot was running his mouth, so I was pretty nervous. He gets me in the first turn, so we both flipped side by side, but I set it up because I was pissed off at him, right? Like, love Matt, he's a great kid, but I was mad just because him and Russ ran their mouths. So I actually heel clicker flips kind of like left to right to set myself up on the outside. Dude, I like never touched brakes. I cut in and freaking stuffed the shit out of him, dude. And I was like, little bitch.
Funny.
So, like, I love him now, but like, just, you know, at the time, like, we're little ego-driven bitches, you know. So won that one. Barcelona had a pretty good round. Like, never like the match. Like, I was with Javier in the last round, and I was watching his little games he was playing with everyone. So I actually brake checked him in the first turn, and then got away from him because he kept trying to take everyone out. I'm like, dude, this little 3'2" dude is not taking me out on this damn thing. So won Barcelona. You know, the story with Staples that year with Biden. Probably everyone knows that. It was a freak deal. Like, I'd have no ill will against Matt. I had a kind of an aftermarket brake pedal, and he lost his front and hit it, snapped my brake pedal off. But that was a weird one too. Like,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was going for 4, and that was a weird deal because like the first lap of practice, dude, I felt weird. Like, they made the track super tight, and on a 450, it's like I felt like I was holding my clutch in around the whole track. You know what I mean? And it like the 2012 was bitching. Like, you land off the ramp, big old bull berm, big rhythm, another big, like, it had a flow. And I just remember, like, the whole time I just felt like shit. And, like, you know, like, you can almost feel like just it's not going to go your way. And then sure shit, I think I qualified first. Biden was 8th. And he was just kind of, he said he was coming in to mess around. And he just lost his front end, and his front wheel just, it didn't do nothing to me. Like, just barely nicked my bike. But, like, when he hit me, I just heard metal. And I'm like, did he, like, just go through my cases or something? I looked down, my brake pedal was gone. So that one took a little bit to get over. And then, yeah, fast forward to 14 at Austin, I was pretty pissed, you know, had revenge. And Biden hit me and broke my brake pedal, DNF'd me, and they didn't say a word to him. And then, remember, this is the first round I got Bamberg. And he's like, hey, man, good luck, dude. I'll be eating pizza and beer by the time you're in the second bracket. Because it was me and
Was that in Austin?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he was an alternate or something, but, dude, our bikes are running and, like, the show's starting. And he looks at me, he's like, hey, good luck, man. By the time you're in your second round, I'll be having pizza and beer. And he wasn't shit, dude. He just idled around the track. So I kind of had like a first round bye. And then
Remember when I went against him in Austin that one year and he just straight jumped the first jump right next to me? I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, that's our special boy. But so the second round, little Jared McNeil, like, he kind of had the ego that I had. Like, we both thought we were racers. So I remember I go into the first turn, dude, and I hear him wide open, and he just nails me and ripped my whole, like, all the buckles off my boot. So I did that whole speed and style thing with actually the bottom buckle left. My boot was like about to fall off, but I had like PTSD from biting. So we jumped that rhythm, and he turned to, like, it was like a single, and then you would double like the next rhythm. And I remember him squaring up, dude, and I never turned. I went straight into him and took him out.
I remember watching that in the stands, dude, and I was like, yes, because like, I watched at the beginning, and he did. He really drilled you, and I was like, yeah, little fucker, you know, like, this is when I struggled with Jared McNeil back in the day. And then, I was watching, and I remember, like, dude, he's going around the turn, and I just remember you just going, yep, bop, and you just donked him and then just kept going.
Yeah.
And there was a girl that knew him that was sitting in front of me, and she goes, "Are you kidding me? He should be disqualified." And I go, "Jared just did the exact same thing to him." And she went, "Okay, yeah, you're right."
And it was like I felt, I know he wasn't doing it, but it felt like he was like trying to do like a Biden 2.0 because he hit me right in the side, just like Biden did, in the first turn. So like my brain went black. I'm like, I don't care what happens. I'm sick of these people doing this. And I never turned, just ran right into him, And I like not to hurt him. Like it wasn't like I was wide open and just plowed. He's light. So I hit his bike and he just high sided. So I end up winning that one. And dude, and they're on the headset forever, dude. I'm like, let me guess. And they're like, okay, they're not going to disqualify you for dirty riding. And I'm like, these dudes can break my brake pedals off and rip my boot off, and I'm the one that's about to get disqualified. I'm like,
the fact that they even considered that when he hit you first is like, what?
I showed him my boot. I'm like, I have no buckle. Dude, my whole boot was black from his tire. Like, I had proof. I'm like, dude, he ran me over. Like, so it was like a 5-minute conversation. I'm like, dude, I just trained my ass off, and I'm going to get disqualified. But I didn't. So, and then it was me and Bilko in the final, which was awesome. Like, love riding with Bilko, and we had a good final. And so I ended up winning gold there, which was cool because that was another one I didn't really feel like I had my best stuff. It was very hard and slick track. Like, it was so hard to get your bike. Like, going up to the ramp, I'm just skating, like, because you're trying to hit the ramp fast, but in control. And I remember my bike just felt like it was on ice. And I just remember it was super windy there, so they cut everything down, like our practices. But luckily came out with the win. And then the last year was 15. Jared actually beat me in the first race, but I beat him on tricks. That was the first time I ever lost a speed and style moto. Like, I pretty much had almost every lap of it. At least that's all my goal was, to like lead every lap. So he beat me in the first moto, and then I went up against a guy named Adam, and I thought maybe the tricks would, even out, and he'd probably beat me, but somehow I got you on that one, and that was my last medal. They didn't do it again after 15, but just what.
It was such a cool event. Like, I don't know how that one didn't last.
Yeah. Well, and it's the thing that society does in general is they always dumb it down. Like, it was so fun to start. Like, we went from San Diego having like a full-blown like supercross rhythms to Home Depot was a full supercross track. Remember, they had supercross at the X Games. And then, Staples that year when I ended up beating Nate, it was like a fun track. And then it just like, it was less and less. And like that last year you and me went head-to-head in Austin, like it was whoops this big. It was like 2 double-doubles this big, and then the ramps, and then some singles. It was like...
Listen, I still struggled on them whoops, okay?
Yeah, dude. I was like, dude, but no, it like just back to what I've said this whole time. It's like I would never complain that it went away. I'm stoked it came out. Like, it gave me 4 or 5 extra medals. Like I was gonna have 2 medals or 3 medals my whole career, and I ended up with 9, and all of them were pretty much because of speed and style. So like I was stoked on that. That was a very good kind of like career topper where I was very content after that. Like, I'm like, now I actually feel like I've done some stuff with my career. Not that you base it off medals, but it's pretty damn cool to be on that stage and like know that you kind of withstood the pressure. Like both of you guys have done it. You've won X Games. Levi's freaking won X Fighters in front of 100,000 people. It's like there's pressure, dude, that no one will understand. Like, and both of you guys have known your favorites, and I knew I was a favorite, and that's almost hard. It's like I almost kind of like when like I don't know what I'm doing and I go out and wing it and I get a third. But it's like when everyone's like, dude, Mason, rubbing your back, dude, you got this, dude. This is your event. And you're like, just shut up, dude. Like, that was probably the one time, Levi, I wasn't going around talking to everyone. Like, I was probably a little nervous, but yeah, like the fact that all 3 of us got to feel that, like, that's what I said about living the 3 lives over and over again. It's like no one in this world besides 0.1% of the population is going to know what it's like to be an athlete and be in a pressure position, whether it's football, basketball, moto, whatever it is. It's like we got to feel that, and we got to come off the course, take our helmet off, get first place, and feel that, like that feeling. And like that's a feeling you'll never replace, and for the 3 of us and the many of our other friends that have got to do it, like that's back to our retirement where I was content. Like, I am so stoked that I got that feeling even once, let alone 9 times. Like, to have that feeling once is like, you can hang your head high with that at the end of the day,
Yeah, definitely. Levi, you want to kick off the last question? Do you know what it is?
Yeah, man. I got it sitting here. What do you think could be done right now to help the future of FMX?
That's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, the future as far as like shows and stuff, like we talked about Freestyle Kings, like innovating an exciting show again, right? Like with Krusty, how they had intros for riders. Like we sat in the stands with the lights off, and they'd spotlight you, and the crowd gets to touch you and stuff. Like, how do we get the crowd incorporated back into our shows? Like the ridings, they like the riding, the pyro, everything, the tricks the guys are doing now. But how do you make the fans feel like they're part of this? Not a pit party, not a VIP session where they spend $300 and you sign a poster for them and then they go and sit in the stands. It's like, how do we make these people feel like they're part of our show and they're the reason why we're doing the show, and I think that would bring back life on the touring aspect. And then, it's kind of nice in a sense, this is going to sound weird coming from me, but that it's kind of gone back to just like the ramp setup, your basic setups, because or like, we saw at Axel Hodges' property at X Games a couple years ago, like there's some guys that like, the number one rider could get taken out because there's double doubles and 100-foot jump and dirt lifts and everything. It's like that was kind of a special breed of us that grew up in that time that could ride those. But now going back to the ramps, you're going to get new faces out there that can do gnarly stuff and work on stuff. Cause I'm not talking shit, but some of these kids, if you throw a 100-foot dirt double out there in front of them, dude, they're no clue what they're going to do, right? Like they don't know what they're going to do. So it's definitely helped that we're kind of just back to the ramp demos and shows, but now let's highlight these kids that are coming up. Like we can get new names, dude. Like Adelberg has killed it, dude. He's done such a great job. We can highlight other guys that are kind of coming up right behind him and because that's all they ever did is they tried to make you a star. Like if
that's
you'd
all
like,
they have to do, right? That's all they have to do. Try to make you a star, and then you will become a star.
Yes, and as long as more and more riders are getting back to personality, I feel like our sport lost that for a while. Because you got like when you interview, some dude doing double backflips and all these gnarly tricks, and they're all, dude, that was sick. Like, remember how bad Krusty hyped us up, like yelling, and you had to have a personality. You couldn't just like talk and be like, yeah, dude, so that was super fun. Thank you. It's like we've got to act a little. I'm a terrible actor, but I would still like the energy of the crowd would help me feed. So it's like, let's highlight people. Like why does Nitro bring Vicky Golden on? She's the only female rider, and all they put her right in the middle of all of us, and that's all it is. Why aren't we have a female in our show? Or, but Freestyle Kings, I do feel like they're hyping up a Patrick Evans, who's doing one of the dirtiest whips right now, and they're hyping up
the illegal whip, just so you know.
Why? Is because it's an electric?
Yeah, apparently.
Whatever. But yeah, there's still a lot of life left in our sport. Like Levi said earlier, we caught a high of it and then it plateaued, but there's still a shitload of people that haven't seen it. Like I've actually got a girlfriend again. Like I know it sounds weird, I'm not gay, but dude, 90% of her friends have no idea what I did. Like when you say dirt bikes, they're like, oh, like around the streets. I'm like, no, dirt bikes. And they're like, oh, like on a track. I'm like, no, like we did flips and stuff. And they're all, I'm like X Games are all,
right?
Yeah.
So like, I took this game.
Yeah. So there's a shitload of people out there that have no idea what freestyle motocross is. So there's still a reach for it, but we've got to do the show. I like thinking about a show plan more than just highlighting a trick, and thinking about rider engagement with the fans to make the fans like, I can't see a Krusty Tour fan ever leaving and being like, that show fucking sucked. That was a terrible time. Waste of $90. My kid's going to hate it.
Yeah.
I can't, I'm sure it probably happened. There's probably some liberals out there, but 90% of the time, like they left on a high, dude. These people are stoked. They're buying their kids, all the merch, and
oh yeah,
and just see this decline. Like X Games now, it's like, who the hell watches X Games? When I did the like TV stuff for them, dude, it was on. We read 2 sponsors. The first rider was off. First rider's done. I'm trying to highlight what he did in his run. Like Harry Bink, dude, look and see how he's hooking his foot. And they're, oh, and here's Rob Adelberg in staging. It's like they want to get this thing started and done as fast as they can.
No vision, right? It's like the whole sport has been taken over by people with no vision. But
yeah,
I like what you said about the energy, and it's funny because like we feed off the crowd's energy, but the crowd feeds off of our energy too. And like that was one thing I always loved about Nitro, was the camaraderie and the genuine excitement of the guys after somebody would do something cool was like contagious to the crowd.
Yeah.
And another thing you said that I think is interesting is highlighting a new group of guys. And I've been thinking so much lately about like, how do we get some contests back in freestyle motocross? And the only way that I can see it being fun, exciting, and worth a shit is if we it's a whole new pool of guys. Like we basically start from amateur freestyle motocross. Nobody pre-existing is even allowed to enter, and like they just build from there, right? Like you said, nobody knows even what it is anymore. No, that's wrong. It's not nobody knows what it is, but it's reset to where a lot of people don't have a familiar relationship with it. And you could start it back at the beginning and allow these kids who are just starting to go through that whole progression and watch it and enjoy it, and like it could be big again. I don't know if it could be, but like it seems to me like the amateurs and the new kids are the only way out. Like,
yeah. And, you know, like, let's give hope back to kids sitting in the stands watching these new kids that you can get in. Dude, for the last 10 years, I still get messages on Instagram. Dude, they're all, dude, do you know of, like, anything going on? Could I hit a ramp? Something? I'm like, sorry, like, I don't, you know, like, but there's kids that want.
Me and Levi can coordinate it.
Yeah. But, you know, like, it's still out there, but there's nowhere for them to go to do it. You know what I mean? And now with the sport being older, you know, 20, 30 years, 25 years old, start a new event. You can have 3 rider judges. You can have 2 riders commentating. Like, you have people behind it now. We don't have Matt Schlingman judging us who's never hit a ramp. You know, we don't have Tess Sewell talking shit about us messing up a double grab when he's never hit a ramp. It's like, you can build, and I'm not talking shit, but I'm just saying, like,
no, I know what you mean.
How frustrating is it to have a judge and an announcer talk shit about everything in your run when they've never hit a jump in their life, you know? But now we've got 20 years worth of dudes in the sport, and they don't have to be names or whatever. You have dudes with experience, you know, that have been out there. They've rode shows, they've rode demos. They know which trick's going to be harder than which trick. You know, there's a lot more to it now, I think, than when we caught it when it started. And you were just hiring anyone and everyone you could, like, you know, like a John Basher, why is he the head judge at X? He's a freaking motocross action editor.
A lot of times, dude.
Yeah, you know, and we're past that now. We've got enough guys kind of out of the sport now to recycle it and build it back up.
Or you've got enough guys who have basically reached their expiration point but are still able to keep going. So it's like, let's give them some other jobs, right? Like, let's refire this thing up and let's give them these other jobs of like judge, event producer, course builder, course provider, whatever it is. Like, you're now on the other end of it, and we're allowing this new generation to prosper because, like, there's nothing I could ever do to reverse the trajectory of my career right now, to start getting monthly salary checks, to make myself cool again. Like, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, we need new blood, we need new people, we need new interests. That's just the way it is. And I think if we bring them in and we kind of start from scratch, like, and I think me and Levi have talked about this, I think there's a way you could do a show format that integrates an amateur contest where it's like, at the end of the show, you still bring in, like, say, me and Brian McCarty, and we do KOD flips and cliffhanger flips and all the crazy shit people want to see. But, like, the majority of it, the contest and everything, this is focused on these new guys, and it's giving them a chance and an opportunity to put a result on the board, and then to go to sponsors and say, listen, I got first at the FMX Legends contest, and like, I'm second in place in points right now, and I'm looking for a sponsor. And they go, they don't even know what the fuck it is, but they go, oh, you're second in points and you got first last weekend at the con. Dude, yeah, we got a couple $1,000 for you.
Yeah. You know, and we didn't have Instagram back in the day. So now there's, like, if you build something, you got a page to promote these guys, you know, like between you two, you can build a page to 100,000 damn followers, you know, and then this kid gets a highlight reel of here's our winning run from the night. So now that this kid who might have 300 followers all of a sudden just got, you know, 30,000 views on his run. I mean, dude, there's still a lot of potential for it. And I got bored of the way it was going, but I do love the fact that there could be a show format again, you know, like a fun show form. Like I said, you'd never think I would say this, but just go back to ramps, keep it simple for dudes, like IFMA style. Like, IFMAs were some of our most fun, badass contests, you know, because everyone rode good. You start adding all this other stuff, and you get guys sloppy, missing jumps. Like I said, that X Games at Axel's house the last one I commentated on, it's like it got kind of hard because half the field missed half the jumps.
Yeah,
it's like we're just in a different time. Let's get a good show that appeals to the crowd. Let's not worry about the big, bad, gnarly courses no more. Let's just get these guys in, you know, a little diamond, you know, U-shaped course and
start it over and let it develop it from the way it wants to go, right?
Because, like I said, there's still a shitload of people that have no idea what it is. Like, not one girlfriend's friends or family what freestyle motocross is. So it's like there's still people out there that, like, if you guys put this on and I brought 10 of them out and watched it, they would shit their pants. Like, you jumped at the Douglas Rodeo, and like 4 or 5 people DM me and they're like, dude, is this what you used to do? This is so gnarly. And I'm all, I was kind of better than Adam, but that's what, yeah, I did that.
This is what you used to do? Yeah, and with that guy you just watched too.
Yeah. Pushing 50, but he's still out there doing it for the kids, so we're good.
Oh, that's right, dude. Divorce, it'll get you. It'll make you work a little bit longer than you expected to.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Levi, you got anything else you want to say before we wrap this up?
Nah, man. Nah, I was quite curious of what Mike had to say with that last one, but and I was going to ask where he kind of seen the sport going, but you hit the nail on the head. It was I'm quite stoked with the way you answered it because you had your time in the sport and you done what you had to do and you kind of walked away and you don't really have anything to do with it now. And I was thinking, man, he's probably not going to have much of a vision with this. I'm a bit scared to hear what he's got to say, but no, I'm quite stoked on where you think it's going because it kind of aligns with like what Adam and I have been working on and where we think it can go as well. So it's been good catching up. It's been a long time and it's been cool sharing old stories.
Yeah, hell yeah, boys. Thanks for having me on, and I'm here every week if you need me, okay? We can talk about more golf, beers, whatever you got.
Sounds good.
Dude, I'm so stoked for today, man. That was tons of fun and like so much cool stories and insight and everything. Thank you so much for coming on with us, dude, and let's do it again.
Heck yeah, boys. It was good seeing you too.
All right. Don't hang up after I stop this, Mike.
Okay.
All right.